It is a sickness in the mind to think that you are entitled to sleeping with someone. It is a sickness in the mind to force yourself upon someone even after they have told you that they do not want to engage in sexual activity with you anymore. It is a sickness in the mind to threaten someone because they refuse to sleep with you. And it is a sickness in the mind to psychologically abuse someone. I guess he thought he had the right to abuse me. But I told him, you cannot treat me like all of the other men. Because I am special. And I am. I am a very powerful man. Growing up, I always felt familiar with black cats. I thought they were beautiful and mysterious. And what I've come to learn, what I've come to know, is that some cats like to play clean, but some cats like to play dirty. And the dirtier the cat, the dirtier the footprints. The messier the cat, the messier are the footprints. So be mindful in how you treat people and be kind to others, lest your footprints become dirtier and messier and easy to track, and you leave behind a big old mess. My name is Jay Hunter, and I am the boy in St. Regis. Will you allow me to tell my story? Hi, I'm Jay Hunter, singer, painter, artist, and adult entertainer. And this is my personal documentary film about how I survived being raped and being in an abusive, narcissistic, and psychologically abusive relationship with my ex-boyfriend. Everything that I say in this documentary is 100% true, and nothing is exaggerated for any purpose. In this documentary, I will not be releasing his address. I will say the apartment, St. Regis, as that is where I was when I was raped. So I do have legal right to mention St. Regis. However, I will not be releasing Elijah's address. I will post text messages, screenshots of text messages, which I own because they were sent to my phone. However, I will not be showing Elijah's phone number in this documentary as to expose his number or his address. But I will not be mentioning his workplace, although he did work at an architectural firm. I will not be saying the name of that firm. And also, I will not mention the name of the college that he attended. And I do not wish to dox him in any way. However, I do have the right to upload photos that are of public domain. So Elijah's photos that I am using are from his LinkedIn page and from his college page. These are images that are public domain. There are no photos of Elijah that show him in a compromising way. There's no photos in this documentary that show him nude or using any type of drug. However, I do have the right to say his full name, as his name is listed on his LinkedIn page, and his pictures, which are public domain. In this documentary, I will be detailing how he raped me. I actually really was not very happy before I met Elijah. I was really depressed. Things weren't really going good for me. I had a really bad relationship with my music in my younger years. I had it all confused. I didn't understand the music industry. I didn't understand my fans. I didn't understand my supporters, anyone. I just didn't get it. And I was starting to give up on it. And the adult entertainment that I was doing, it seemed to have more money involved. I wanted to dive deeper into doing adult entertainment. I had already got an offer for about $2,000 to do a short scene, but I turned it down because it involved things that I just wasn't really comfortable with. At the time, being a solo content creator, a lot of people didn't really respect it. A lot of people didn't really think that it was really as cool as the other adult entertainers who were sleeping with each other on camera. Everybody online was saying, if you are not sleeping with someone else on camera, I'm not gonna buy your content. I'm sorry. And I just was so nervous and I was so afraid that I wouldn't make much because I didn't want to sleep with anyone on camera. I just wanted to do my own thing on camera. I got on Jacked. And I used to get on Jack just to see if I could photograph people naked for my portfolio, but nobody really wanted to do that. Everybody just wanted to have sex on Jacked. And so I said, okay, fine. I gave up on that. But around September, I started to get back on Jack. My name on Jack was Content Collab. That was my actual name on there. At the time that I had met Elijah, I had only been with 4 men my entire life. And so I just was very choosy about who I wanted to sleep with, especially if it was going to be on camera. But the night that I met Elijah, actually a car crash happened right in front of me. I now take that as an omen. I just know that on the night of September 24th, which was the first night that I met Elijah, I tried to lay down because, sometimes when I was depressed, I would go jogging, I would go for a long walk. And I laid down and I just was so down because the music hadn't really cut out for me well. And I remember when I laid down, something in me said, get up and go for a walk. You are not okay. Get up. I was slowly sinking. I told myself, I said, Jay, one day you're going to be dead. You're going to be under the ground. I said, you got to live your life. Because I was not living. I was extremely depressed. I said, Jay, you've got to live your life. And then I took a little walk further deeper into the park, and then I sat on a bench. Right around the corner, a car was driving too fast. And you can look at the accident report on September 24th. But it was crazy. The car spun out of control, a brother and his sister, and they hit a tree and smashed right in front of me, and the car rolled. And so I saw the car smash in front of me, and the car was it looked like the side of the door had melted almost. And so I came around the side of the car, and I was going to help them. Whoever need Jay gonna come through for them. And so I came around the side of the car and I said, oh my God, if this man is dead, I do not want to look. Oh my God. What if what if his head his brains is all out? Are you ready to see that, Jay? I looked into the car and he was fine. He just had blood coming down the side of his face, but everything else was fine. The car was really what had been totaled. The police, they took my statement down and they asked me about what happened. And I went home that night. And as soon as I went home that night, Elijah texted me. As soon as I lay down, he texted me, hey, do you want to link up? Do you want to meet up? And my name was Content Collab. And that is how it all started. So I really didn't want to meet up with him. I really didn't, because I was so tired because the car accident had just happened and they made me wait. I asked the police officer, I said, can I go home? And she looked at me and she said, oh my God, you're going to make me stay here and give a statement, aren't you? So I really didn't want to meet with Elijah. And normally when I told some of the other guys that I didn't have a car at the time, they would give up. Oh, okay, I'm not coming to get you. And he said, I got a car. I come get you. And at that time he had an Infinity. He had a gray Infinity. I said, okay. I said, but I can't host. And I just knew he was going to give up. I'm like, I can't host because I really didn't want to meet with him. And he said, I can host. And I said, okay, all right. So I sent him a picture of myself and he liked me. He thought I was cute, whatever. And I said, okay, now you send me a face pic because I do not meet with any guy unless you send me a face pic. And he sent me a picture of his face. And I thought, okay, this guy's really handsome. And so I said, okay, I'll meet with you.
I'll be hoping you catch all my hints that I send, but you steady playing hard to get. Then you're calling on 3, wait till I'm asleep. He asked me, Jay, where you live? You be all up on them dating apps, checking Snapchat, trying to find someone to break your back. Then you finally get the nerve to hit my curve, cause finally I DM'd you back. He hit my line like, hey Jay, are you free tonight? Give me a bit of your time. He asked me if I could see him tonight. That's when I said, now you're speaking my language. And I say, now you're speaking my language. Can I come by tonight? Yes, I'll be around by 9. Yes, and I say, now you're speaking my language. Hot sex, rebel X, soft lips, French kiss. Tell me lover, is it big enough to ride? Brown eyes, thick thighs, oh my, so fine. I think that I don't want a lottery tonight. Hit my line like, JJ, are you free tonight? Give me a bit of your time. He asked me if I could spend the night. That's when I said, now you're speaking my language. And I say, now you're speaking my language. Can I come by tonight? Yes, I'll be around by 9. Yes, and I say, now you're speaking my language. My language. Can I come by? Whoa. Whoa. 1 + 1 = 2, that's me and you. I ain't got a lot to prove, boy, you know just how I do. Make a look
down on it, bust down on it, like bust down on it, like bust down on it, like.
now you're speaking my language. And I say, now you're speaking my language. Now you're speaking my language. Can I come by tonight? Yes, I'll be around by 9. Yes, I say, speaking my language. Can I come by? Oh, can I come by?
I opened the door, got in, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. That's just, and when I got in, he told me he was my same age, that he was 26, just like me at the time. I was 26. And I told him, I said, I'm only doing this, to content collab. I'm doing this because I want to collab and make content with you. Are you okay with that? And he said, yeah. I said, you're okay with me filming us having sex and putting it on camera? I said, are you okay with that? And he said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, I'm only, doing this because of that. And he agreed. He said, yeah, you can film. I said, okay, I'm looking for someone to make content with. So, my name said content collab. When I got in the car with him, the first thing I thought was, this guy is sexy. Oh my God, I thought Elijah was so sexy. I thought he was so, so, so handsome. He had this beautiful, beautiful dark skin. It was rich. And he had these pretty eyes and just muscles. He had, he wasn't really, really buff, but he had muscles, all really like a guy with muscles. And he smelled really good. And he had a really nice sweater. He had a blue sweater on. I have a really, really, really good memory. I have a really good photographic memory, so I can remember things from a long time ago. And I thought to myself, what is a sexy guy like this doing single? Why he ain't got no man? I did not know that I would find out why he was single. I did not know that, but I would find out in the worst ways possible why he was single. And so we drove, and I remember he told me, he said, you live really, really close to me. And the first thing that he said to me that really, really made me feel for him, because I caught feelings for him in that car. I know a lot of people don't believe in love at first sight, but I caught feelings for him in that car. It was not just his looks. It was how he talked. It was how he charmed me, which narcissists are really, really good at charming you. he looked over at me and my hair was braided just like this. That's why I had my hair braided, so you guys can see how I look when I got in the car with him. But yeah, he looked over at me and he said, "I like your hair." And I thought to myself, oh, this guy is smooth. I like the way he said that. It's how he said it. It just did something to me. "You like my hair?" And I said, "Okay, thank you." And we started talking, going back and forth about, what we liked. And I remember I told him, I said, "Yeah, this is just all I do." I said, "I don't have any friends." And he said, "You don't have any friends?" And you have to watch how you tell on yourself around narcissists, because whatever you say to a narcissist, they will absolutely use it against you. They will use it against you. And so we drove to the plaza. He told me he lived in the plaza, but I did not know that he stayed in St. Regis. Elijah did not know how important St. Regis was to me. And he did not know that ever since I was 19 years old, I had always wanted to stay in St. Regis. Always. It was either Casa Loma or it was St. Regis. It was either one of the two. I had lived in Kansas City my whole life. And so when we had pulled up, I said, he stays in St. Regis. I had fell in love with the plaza at a very young age. Coming up as a young man in Kansas City, Missouri, I experienced abuse in my own home. My father, Jason Hunter Sr., abused my mom the entire time while we were together in our home, from the time that she was 17 years old to the time that my mom had divorced my dad. 20 years later, after their marriage, he had abused her. I always had to go run and tell somebody that my dad was fighting. And I remember coming up as a young man, I always wanted to move to Paris. I always wanted to stay in Paris. And so, I never thought I had the money to go to Paris. I never thought that. But I remember we lived on Wabash. And if you're from KC, you know about Wabash. And my mom was locked in her bedroom because my dad would oftentimes lock my mom in their bedroom and he would fight with her and he wouldn't let her leave. And I remember this was my chance to run and go tell someone that my dad was doing this. And so I ran and I was trying to head to my grandparents. I was only 14 years old and I really didn't have no sense of direction. But I was trying to run to my grandparents and let them know. And I accidentally ran into the plaza. But it was at night, and it was around the time when the city Christmas lights were all lit up. And I remember thinking, as a 14-year-old running from an abusive home, I remember thinking to myself, what is this place? It was just lit up with lights, and it felt like I was in Paris. I had escaped from my abusive household where my dad was beating my mom to this beautiful place where there was lights and carriage rides and fancy apartments. And so from that moment on, I nicknamed the plaza Little Paris. And I had gone to the plaza from that moment on, through my high school years, through my early teens, my early 20s. And I always wanted to stay in Casa Loma or St. Regis. Always. I mean, from the time I was 19 and up, I would just walk past St. Regis all the time. And I would say, I'm going to live there one day. I'm going to live there one day. And so when I met Elijah, and he took me to St. Regis, I said, oh my God, he lives in St. Regis. Did I know that we were going to be together for 6 months, off and on? No, I did not know that. And so I remember when we got out of the car, Elijah asked me how tall I was. And I had already told him that I was 5'6". I was the same height as him, the same age as him. We actually had a lot in common. We both had no tattoos, no piercings. We both had, similar taste in music and art, and we would find that out later. But he asked me, he said, how tall are you? And he said this as we were walking into the apartment. And he started to look me up and down, kind of like sizing me up. Now looking back at it, he was looking at me as if I was a piece of meat, basically, for his pleasure. Which I didn't know that at the time. I thought it just was a mutual thing. We were going to collab and we were going to just move on with our lives. I did not know that he was seeing if I was going to be his next victim. So I said, I'm 5'6". I told you I'm 5'6". And he looked me up and down and he said, And then he kept walking. And I thought, oh, okay, whatever. We got into his apartment. It was so beautiful. He had this beautiful studio apartment, really nice kitchen. And when I went into the kitchen and looked around, I didn't know that I would spend a lot of time cooking him meals in that exact kitchen. I didn't know that then. But I looked around and I said, this is a pretty nice place. He had a really nice fancy plant that he, had to the side, a really nice big TV, really nice bedding. Elijah said, do you smoke? I said, I don't smoke. At the time that I met Elijah when I was 26, I had never smoked a single drug in my life. I had never done weed once, and I had never drank alcohol once. That was my rule. No weed, no drugs, no alcohol, no anything. That was a strict law that I lived by. I hated drugs. And so at the time, I did not know that I was literally in the presence of a chronic drug addict. I didn't know that. And I thought to myself, how does someone who is anti-drug and anti-alcohol meet someone who is a chronic drug user and abuser? And so he said, you get ready, you get comfortable, and I'm going to go in the bathroom and smoke. After we had sex, while we were having sex, I remember it felt very passionate. And I think that he noticed it too. He looked at me and he said, I like you. And I said, I like you too. And it felt as if we had merged. It felt like two souls had met that were looking for each other for so long. I now know that that is pure, utter bullshit. After everything was over, I laid back and he went to get something to drink. And I felt all right. I felt good. I got my footage and I enjoyed myself. He was an excellent kisser, and he was an excellent love maker. And I guess so was I. He made no complaints about that. And he asked me to cuddle. And I thought to myself, shouldn't I be going home by now? I had got my footage. We had sex. Shouldn't it be time for me to go home? I didn't say that to him because I'm not a jerk, but I thought he wants me to cuddle. He said, you want to cuddle? And I said, okay. He's supposed to call my Uber, but he was acting like he really didn't want to. And I said, you said you were gonna call my Uber home. And so he was like, can you call it? And I said, no, you said you were gonna call it. So he called it and I got home. When I got home, he texted me and said, hey, can you delete those videos? And I said, what? Are you serious? I had filmed, with him. He said, do me a favor and delete those videos. And I said, okay. And the reason why is because I'm a good dude. Even though you agreed to film with me, I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. I deleted them, but I felt used. I felt like he knew that I was a content creator. And I remember I Googled his name and I looked up, Elijah Thomas. And the reason why I knew his name is because he shared his Snapchat with me and it said Elijah Thomas. And I found out that he was an architecture student and that he worked at an architectural firm. And I said to myself, this guy just agreed to do basically porn with me. My first ever model that I had done porn with, a sex scene with. And I said, this guy just agreed to do this with me. This guy, he agreed to film with me and do all this knowing that he worked in a corporate job doing architecture, but he had agreed to do the adult entertainment with me. And I said, oh my God, this guy is an architect student and he works at an architectural firm. Why would he agree to do this? Later that day, he asked, he was really, really after me. Elijah really, really wanted me. He really wanted me bad. I knew that he had similar feelings for me. I had already fell in love with him by that time. I fell in love with him. I thought he was the sexiest man ever. At that time, I wanted him. I loved the way he talked. I loved the way he smelled. I loved everything about Elijah. And I remember he told me that he was from Alabama and, that he had traveled a lot and that he had been in college. And I thought to myself, I like this guy. He was real smooth. He was real clean. Everything about him was polished and professional. And I was like, I'm in love with this man.
Shake it, don't play with it, just stay with it. You know that I really love your style. You're different, you're special, you're sexy. I want it, I like it. Ooh, I wanna lay you down. Baby, you a sexy love superstar. You got the whole world in the jar. Shake it on me, lay it on me. I'ma set a whole town, but I got me a tender, roll it on me. Oh, I really love your style. boy, can you take me out? Little Alabama boy, can you take me out? Little Alabama boy, can you take me out? I like this one. Let's keep it.
So I deleted the videos. After that, he did not, we did not talk for a little while. I didn't know this at the time, but Elijah, he only wanted to talk to me on Jacked and Snapchat. And I didn't know this at the time, but the reason why is because he didn't want to have a history of our text threads. He had already, in my opinion, preyed on other men for years. He knew what he was doing. He knew that if he could keep our messages on Snapchat, that there would be no proof of anything that we did. There would be no proof of anything. But luckily, I was able to have loopholes to that. Sometimes I did get him to actually text me on my phone, and I will be showing those text messages. Of course, the text messages from Snapchat are all deleted, just like he planned. However, I do have many times where he texts me. He texts me really late at night. And, I had let him know that I had feelings for him at this time. But he texted me late at night, and, he asked to sleep with me again. But he said it in a way as, would you want to come over? But, it was really late, so I knew what was going on. But, yeah, he asked, and of course I was deeply in love with him, so I went, even though it was really, really late. But I told him, I said, I want to let you know, if I come over there, I'm going to film. And he was supposed to be my content partner. We were supposed to still be doing content to this day. I told him, I said, if I come over, we're going to do some collabs. I'm going to film some collab videos. And so, he was fine with it. He said, okay. I said, you got to stop being so shy. And he said, okay. And he said something to me that I never forget. He said, we're going to be famous. And I thought, okay, we just might, people might like our content that much. He was acting really wild that night, really, really wild. He opened the door and, he was barefoot, and I was like, okay, whatever. Last time I saw him, he just was dressed so nice from head to toe, but he had on nothing under his coat. It was almost as if he was really ready to, do the deed. But I recorded, we talked, and he was acting really crazy. Really, really crazy, really strange. The next morning after that, he asked me to date. He said, would you date? Can you date? And I said, okay. I said, yeah. Knowing that I was in love with him, I just was like, yeah, okay. And he said, I was in a relationship and it didn't go so well. And I'm thinking, oh, somebody broke his heart. Oh, poor thing, I've always been able to read people really, really good, sometimes too good. But I think that my rose-tinted glasses was on at that time, so I wasn't able to see through a lot of the things that I normally can see through. I felt bad for him. And then he started to tell me other things. Elijah always told me his deeper secrets, and I always wondered, why does he trust me so much? What is it about me that's so trusting? I wanted things to work, and, so I asked him, I said, I'm an artist. I love architecture. The fact that you do architecture is cool. He had texted me, and I left my earphones over there at his home, and I wanted to come get them. And I have this feeling that our relationship would not last, or whatever we had, it just wouldn't last. I don't know why, but I just had this feeling that this isn't gonna last. And I think that made me want him more, because I wanted to know why. He texted me, and if you see those text messages, you'll see I'm asking, when can I come and get my earphones? Because he said he would bring them to me, but he never did, which that's something that I learned about him, is that he never, ever really kept his word. Never. If he said he was gonna do something, he just wouldn't do it. So this also was the start of him ignoring me, which was a portion of the abuse that I suffered from him psychologically. Is that Elijah would ignore me. He would just straight out ignore me for days on end. And he did it our entire 6 months of our relationship that we were together. Whether it was through the blocking or the breakups, he would ignore me. They say that being ignored triggers a chemical in your brain, which is the equivalent to being punched. So as you can see, if you look at the screen, you'll see that he says, tonight is better because he has company. I'm thinking to myself, you're asking, you asked to date me, but you got a boy coming over. But it wasn't a boy. It was actually his auntie. During our relationship, Elijah talked about his aunt so much. He called her auntie. And he loved her. He talked about her all the time. And she would often call when we were together sometimes. And I would think, who is this lady calling my man? Oh my gosh, she called him so much. But it was because she was looking after him. And so, I came to see him, and the more I came to see him, the more St. Regis started to feel like my own home. He would oftentimes ask me to come over to St. Regis and stay night after night, day after day, and come and cook in his home and everything. So St. Regis has started to feel like my home. I spent 6 months there, with him. What I found out over the phone after that second night is that Elijah had been on cocaine that night. And it really made me sad. I didn't understand how to process it. I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I did cocaine." I said, "Cocaine?" He said, "Yeah, I put it under my tongue, on my gums," I think is what he said. I felt sick to my stomach because I hated drugs. I hated alcohol. I didn't like it. And the fact that someone who I was in love with was doing cocaine, it scared me, but it also hurt me. He made me stay on the phone with him because he told me, he said, my boyfriend used to talk a lot. And he said, my boyfriend used to talk me to sleep until I would fall asleep. Can you do that to me? Can we talk until I fall asleep? I said, of course. This is after him telling me that he did cocaine when he slept with me. And I said, of course. What I should mention, and I will talk about it further in the film, is that Elijah told me that same night that he almost died after I left his home from an overdose. He told me all this after telling me that someone had gave him cocaine that he bought. I believe he told me he paid $80 for it. And I thought, oh my God, you're buying it, so you know where to get it. He told me that when I left his home after we had had sex, which I did not know that he was on cocaine when we were having sex. I did not know at all. I didn't really know much about drugs at that time. At that time, I did not know the severity of Elijah's addiction. I didn't know that he would continue to do these drugs throughout our relationship. I thought I was going to really get through to him. He told me that he could kick the cocaine. He told me that he could kick it, and I believed him. He was still new to me. I did not know that he was a narcissist. I did not know that he was going to psychologically abuse me for 6 months. I didn't know that he was going to do his best to break me down in every way possible. I didn't know that. I just saw a victim. I saw someone who told me that he had almost died. If you go into his apartment, if the refrigerator is still there, there's a dent in his refrigerator because when he had his overdose, he fell and hit the refrigerator, and then he fell on the floor and he seized. I know this because he told me and he showed me. And for the remaining time of our relationship, when I would come over, I would always see that dent in the refrigerator. And I thought that would be some kind of reminder to him that, hey, you almost died when you did cocaine. But he kept doing drugs, and he even did stronger drugs after that. But he told me, he said, yeah, I almost died when you left. And I said, what? He said, yeah, I almost OD'd. And I said, why? He said, because the cocaine, it gets rid of negative emotions. He said, so hunger is a negative emotion. So he said, by the time you came over, I hadn't eaten in 3 days. I said, you didn't eat in 3 days before I came to see you? When I came over, you hadn't eaten in 3 days? And he said, no, because hunger is a negative emotion, and the cocaine didn't make me feel hunger. I said to myself, Jay, you got to help him, because I loved him. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna help him. I'm gonna help him get clean. I'm gonna help him get off the cocaine. I'm gonna stick it out. I even told him, I said, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna stick this out with you. So, I came to see him to get my things, and he was talking about his auntie, and he was mimicking her, and, just saying how she was so hard on him. His auntie was always really, really hard on him. And sometimes when she would call, she would fuss at him. And I would think, why is this lady so hard? But I know it's because she wanted him to win, and she wanted him to succeed in life. And, he was telling me about his parents, and, and he told me about his sister. He always talked about his sister. And he always said, I want you to meet my sister. I want you to meet her. And he said, you remind me of my sister so much. And I thought to myself, you want me to meet your sister? And he was like, yeah, I want to call her and I want you to talk with her. And I thought, I'm not ready for that yet. You know, this is probably like our third time together. I'm not ready to call your sister just yet. I saw someone who was depressed. And I had dealt with depression for so long, so I thought, well, let me help him. You know, how do I help him? You know, he already told me he did drugs. He already told me that he almost died from doing, cocaine. He almost had an overdose. How do I help this poor soul? And so I'm not the best chef ever in the world, but I know how to cook a little bit, okay? But I said, I need to cook for you. I need to come cook for you. I want to take care of him. And he brought me into his kitchen and he grabbed this fish fry. And Elijah, he always did really weird stuff. He wouldn't just say that he wanted fish. He grabbed it and did like this. And I'm like, okay, all right. You're putting fish fry into my hands, okay. So I said, you want fish? And he was like, and I said, okay, I'll make you some fish. You know, Elijah, he had this way of showing off his talents in certain ways. And, you know, I've been a singer my whole life. My entire family did music, which is why I do music. My grandmother was a bass player and a musician. My entire family had done music. I remember I came to see Elijah and I was sitting on his bed and he said, do you know that I can sing? And I said, no, I didn't know you can sing. And so he sang to me. And he sang to me in this operatic way. It was like he was speaking a different language and it was just so beautiful. I thought he was gonna sing some Usher or, some Alicia Keys or something. But he sang this beautiful ballad to me and I was mesmerized. And this is what narcissists do. Narcissists are good charmers. They have a way to captivate you, to pull you in. And he really could sing too. He told me that he was actually in an all-state choir. And so I said, well, I'm gonna sing for you. And he said, okay, go ahead and sing, go ahead and sing. I said, no, I'll come back and sing for you. So that was my way to, I'll be back for you. But I told him I would come back and sing for him. And so the song that I sang for him was Whisper a Prayer by Mika Paris. I sang to him right as I held him because he was my baby. He really was. Elijah really was my baby. Me and my heart, I am so still in the dark. Oh, I wanna wake up and touch you, feel the warmth of your skin, but it's enough just to know where you are. And I sang to him and he said, that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. And I said, he likes it. Okay, he likes my voice. I didn't know if he was gonna laugh. I don't know what. And I told him that I was in love with him. And he said, well, I want to take my time. I like to take my time. And I said, okay. What I did not know is that he would consistently block me throughout our relationship over and over again. And that he would consistently ignore me and pretend that we weren't together sometimes, tell me that we weren't together sometimes, while calling me baby whenever he felt like it, or while having sex with me whenever he felt like it. I did not know any of that. I remember him telling me that he wasn't feeling well, which I thought, oh, he just might have the common cold, And this is what scared me. And this is some of the proof that I had that he slept with me knowing that he had STDs and didn't tell me until after we had slept together. If you look at the text message, you'll see that I said, he said, he was telling me that, it's finished, it's done, and I said, what? And he said it was COVID. Elijah slept with me knowing that he had the coronavirus. Matter of fact, when I first came to see him, to sleep with him, he was actually on quarantine from work because he had the coronavirus. He slept with me without disclosing that to me. And my proof of that is him telling me that he had COVID because he knew that I wouldn't come sleep with him if he had the coronavirus. So he knowingly slept with me, knowing that he had a virus. But what I did not know is that Elijah had a history of STDs and other viruses that he also did not tell me until about 3 times after we slept together. I want to state clearly that he did not care about my safety or my well-being our entire relationship. That did not matter to him. Did I wear protection? Yes, I did. But it's kind of hard to wear protection from COVID. You know, a condom is not going to keep you from getting the coronavirus. I remember one time I came and saw him and he said, I've slept with so many guys on Jacked. And by the time that I met Elijah, I told him that I had only slept with 4 men in my whole life. So having a low body count, it was important to me. I didn't judge him though. I didn't judge him because he told me that he slept with a lot of guys on Jack. I didn't judge him. But what I did not know is that his sex addiction was so out of control that Elijah had a high number of sex partners. Increasing your sex partners can highly increase the chance of you catching HIV. And so I was worried about that, but I was very much in love. And so I would wear protection, but I was very much in love. And so I stayed. I knew I couldn't stop him from sleeping with other men. There was no way to stop him. I mean, I couldn't get this guy to respond back to my text messages. Elijah, when I would text him, when I would say, hey baby, or hey baby, how was your day? He would open my message and then he wouldn't respond to it on Snapchat. And then 3 days later, he would text me, are you okay? Or he would say, you good? Or he would ask to have sex with me. And I would go. He had got used to doing this to me for so long to where it had become second nature. Ignore Jay for 3 or 4 days and then text him and ask him to come sleep with me. He knew he could do it because he knew I cared for him. Oftentimes when Elijah would ignore me, I would lay on the floor in a ball and just cry my eyes out. I would just stay under the blanket, because seeing his light be green, it was an indication that he was sleeping with other men. And I knew if I told him, hey, can you not sleep with other guys? I knew he wouldn't stop. And so he would just ignore me. I would say sweet things to him like, how was your day? I miss you. When can I see you again? And he would open it and he just wouldn't respond. And then he would get on Jacked and, meet with guys. And then 3 days later, he would say, hey, you okay? He texted me on Snapchat and he said, I want you to come over. And I said, okay. Well, it's kind of cold, right now. So why don't I just come over tomorrow? He said, no, come tonight. And I said, do you want me to come over even though you have to go to work the next day? He said, yeah, I want you to stay at my apartment. And so he came and got me. And I remember he always loved s'mores. Elijah loves s'mores, just like me. And I told him that we were going to make s'mores together. So when I got in his car, he got a new car by this time. And I thought, oh, look at this man. He's got 2 cars. He's coming to get me. Oh, this man is so romantic. Oh, my God. We're going to make this work. Despite him already starting to abuse me and to play me and to manipulate me. Elijah told me that he was a manipulator. And I thought, who tells somebody that they're a manipulator? He said, I'm really good at manipulating people. I should have recognized it then. I should have woke up then, but I had those rose tinted glasses on. It was a good night, but I got a call from Elijah. He called me and I hadn't heard from him once again for a couple of days. And I'm thinking, we about to talk about something, let's go somewhere, let's go hang out tonight. So I said, hey, Elijah, what's going on? And he said, I have syphilis. And my doctor told me that I should call everybody and tell them. I still didn't get it. I still didn't even get it then. And my heart just dropped. I said, you have syphilis? And he said, yeah, you should go get yourself checked out. I said, Elijah, you have syphilis? And he said, yeah. And I said, let me come see you right now. I said, you shouldn't have to go through this alone. I said, what does syphilis do? What does it do to your body? And he said, it'll shut down your organs and like your heart and like it'll cause you to be like blind. And I thought to myself, what am I in? First you're telling me about the cocaine. Then you're sleeping with all these men. Now you're calling me, telling me that you have syphilis. But I still saw him as the victim. I didn't know that I was being victimized that whole time. I saw him as the victim. So I said, let me come see you right now. I said, we can get through this together. I said, I'll go get tested. I said, but let me come and see you. And he said, oh, well, I've got things to do. I've got to go to FedEx. I said, let me come cook for you. Let's just have some dinner and we can talk about this. I didn't know at that time that Elijah had known about most of the STDs. I got tested and they told me that I did not have the syphilis. I didn't catch it. And I was, HIV negative. I didn't have that either. But the thing about Elijah, is that he called to see if I got my test yet. He just really wanted to know that I have it. And I said, no, I didn't catch it. But the thing about syphilis is if you do have it, you always are going to test positive for it. And so even if your symptoms clear up or even if you are treated for syphilis, you still will test positive. And I feel like you would have to tell people that you test positive for it. I don't feel as if Elijah was telling people that he was positive for these things. And I'll tell you why. After I got my test and once I came to see Elijah, I sat with him on the edge of his bed while he was doing his hair in the bathroom. And he came out for a little bit and he came out in just a towel. And so I looked at him and we started talking and I knew I was going to have to bring up the syphilis eventually. So I said, Elijah, what else have you had? And he looked at me and he said, oh, I've had everything. And then he just walked away, went into the bathroom and continued to do his hair. I was still in love. And I was in the abuse cycle. After Elijah was done with me for good, I had to get therapy because of the psychological damage that he caused to me. And my therapist explained to me that Elijah had kept me in the abuse cycle. This is something that a narcissist will do to you so that you will not leave them. Throughout the abuse cycle, they will hurt you, but then they'll be really sweet and kind and loving the next day. They'll say romantic things or they'll do romantic things, and they'll even trick you into thinking that your connection is real. And then the next day they'll break up with you, or they'll block you, or they'll hurt you. And so that keeps you in a loop where you are constantly waiting for them to treat you right. I made fried fish for him, and we cooked and we ate. And Elijah, he was like me. He could remember things too really, really good. And I remember when I was cooking, he said, "Come on, hurry up. I want us to eat together." Elijah always wanted us to eat together. Whenever I would come and cook for him, he always wanted to wait for me. And he sat in his bed, and he tried so hard not to go to sleep because he really wanted to eat with me. And see, he would do things like that. He would hurt me. He would break me down. He would say horrible, horrible things to me. And then the next day, he would be this angel. He'd be this sweet guy. When I was cooking for him, he said, "Come on, come on, I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat without you." And he said, "Don't burn it this time, because last time when you burnt the fish, you ate the burnt ones." I didn't think that he remembered that, but Elisha remembered everything that I did for him. I had burnt some of the fish, and some of the fish actually came out good. And so I ate the burnt ones, and I gave him the not burnt ones, and he remembered that. And so I thought, okay, let me go ahead and cook for my man. Let me go ahead and cook for him. And then I came to see him right before Thanksgiving was approaching. When I came in, he handed me his family photo album. And that's what made me think that we was gonna get married. I always thought that we were gonna get married because I'm like, you want me to meet your sister, you're talking to me about your parents, you're talking to me about your auntie and all this, and now you're handing me your photo album, And I thought, oh my gosh. So, he gave me his photo album, and, I thought to myself, okay, he's showing me his family, all right. I said, okay, we're gonna be a family, we're gonna really make this work. He continued to leave me on read, and he continued to, sleep with other guys. He had went to go see his family in Alabama for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was about maybe 4 days from that time that he told me that he was in Alabama seeing his family. And so we talked, and so I said to him that I loved him, which I always told him that. I always told him, when I first found out that Elijah had syphilis or any of the other STDs, I would hold him. And when I would hold him in my arms, I would picture myself sending healing energy into him. And I thought, if I could just help him with this, if I could just nurture him, maybe he'll see my nurturing nature, and it will encourage him to do better or make better choices. And so, before he had went to Alabama, I remember I came to see him, and he had these pills sitting on his counter, and he said, "Oh my God, I've got to take this new medication." And I said, "For what?" He said, "I have chlamydia." The day before Thanksgiving, I uploaded a video of me on Snapchat of me wearing some boxers and a tank top. I wasn't naked, and Elijah did not like that. So he said, "It's time for us to end this." And I said, "What?" And my mom had just come over to my apartment. My sister was with me. We had bought all this food, and we really wanted to have great Thanksgiving at my place. I was hosting Thanksgiving at my place for the first time in years. And my brothers were over there, and he's texting me that he wants to end it. He said, "I don't like that you're posting that." And I said, "But I'm not even naked." He said, "Yeah, but I live a very private life, and I'm about to graduate, and I don't want to be involved with that. So goodbye, take care." And he sent me a smiley face. And I remember thinking to myself, what is going on? I've come through for this guy, and now he's just ending things with me, and then he put a smiley face on it. And I said, "Well, just leave me alone." And as soon as I said that, he blocked me on everything. He blocked me on Snapchat, he blocked me on Jack, and my whole world crumbled. And that was the first time that I wanted to take my life during our relationship. I felt pathetic. I felt hurt. I felt used. I felt abused, and I felt discarded. There was a creek that I would go to when I would write love letters for Elijah. If he made me upset, I would take these love letters and I would put them into the creek, the Theus Creek, which is right across from the Nelson Atkins Museum. And on this particular night, when he blocked me the day before Thanksgiving, I thought to myself, if I could just jump in the creek and take my life, I wouldn't have to deal with him anymore, because I was angry. I had always been angry at him. I felt anger our entire relationship. I felt used our entire relationship.
I feel so alone, but I'm cool alone. I feel like an alien, don't know where I belong. Why you treat me so bad, got me feeling so sad. Make love to you, baby, I wish I never had. I'm just like a baby crying all night, always staying in, I'm not coming outside. This is so wrong, no it ain't right. Laughing through my tears, but I don't wanna be here. I don't wanna feel, I don't wanna be, I don't wanna try, I just wanna I don't wanna trust, I don't wanna love, I don't wanna try, I just wanna yeah, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, suicide, I'm suicidal, suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, yeah. I don't wanna live, don't wanna live, don't wanna try, don't wanna cry, I just wanna yeah. I don't wanna live, don't wanna live, don't wanna try, don't wanna cry, I just wanna Jay Hunter, is it true that you ain't got no friends? Is it true your own man walked out on you again? I don't take no disrespect, so I just chill out at home. Don't even try to call my phone, cause I am not at home. I be beefing with myself, I cause half of my problems. Can't believe some hurtful things I said to my own mama. Why I let you break my heart, swear you hurt me on purpose. But I won't let you see me cry, you won't see me hurting, no. Boy, you won't see me hurting, no. Yeah, yeah, I don't wanna live, don't wanna live, don't wanna try, don't wanna cry, I just wanna, yeah. I don't wanna live, don't wanna live, don't wanna try, don't wanna cry, I just wanna die. I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, I'm suicidal, yeah, I'm dying. Don't wanna live, don't wanna live, don't wanna try, don't wanna cry, I just wanna die, yeah. I wrote some songs for you. I hope you like them. I called you and I don't know what's going on, but I haven't heard from you in 3 days. I hope you're okay. I hope you're staying off of drugs. I just remember, you can always call me if you need me. I'm always here for you, okay? I know it's been a while since we talked, but I just was hoping that maybe we could watch a movie or something, you know, just I got some popcorn, I got some soda, so, you know, hopefully we can come over, we watch some scary movies. I know you like scary movies, so we can do that, you know, if you're down for it. I really miss you so much.
I thought to myself, this guy has done all these horrible things to me. And now he was ending things with me. Why would he leave me just because I was uploading a picture of me in boxes and a tank top? Was I really that worthless to him? So I wanted to take my life. And I thought about it. But then I thought about my family. And so I remember the next day Elijah unblocked me, that was his game that he liked to play. He would block me and then 2 days later he would unblock me. And what I heard from other men is that he would do the same thing to them too. So I remember I got so depressed and I got so tired of crying. I actually met Jenny Han about 5 years ago. She was sitting at the crossroads and I met her and I saw all this beautiful art and I knew I had to get her information. And from that moment on, Jenny was, you know, a voice of inspiration. She was giving me tips on how to make my art career work for me. And so I said, Jenny, can I please speak with you? I said, I need to talk to someone who is not going to judge me. One thing that I'll never forget is that Jenny was actually sick when I called her. she was not feeling too well, but she said, I'm laying down, but if you give me about an hour or two when I wake up, you can call me and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'll never forget that she did that. And I talked to her, I told her that Elijah was on drugs and that he had not disclosed to me that he had these STDs before sleeping with me. And I told her how he was using me and how he was playing with me and toying with me. And she said, Jay, what I see is I see an addict. I see someone who is harming you and disrespecting you. She said, Jay, you need to leave him. Walk away right now. She said, Jay, this is dangerous. But did I listen to Jenny Hahn? Absolutely not. Jenny knew that I was hurting. And so she did something very sweet for me. After we got off the phone, she continued to text me to check up on me. And she sent me something which I thought was so sweet. She sent this to me after I told her how Elijah had hurt me and used me and abused me. She sent this to me in the mail. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. She worked in her Breathe Deep techniques, in which she helped people on a retreat learn about the healing effects of art through the use of therapy and learning how to mix colors. And I saw that and I loved it. And so I wanted a piece of that. And so she, without charging me, sent me this booklet that came with cards. I want to show y'all these beautiful cards that talks about metamorphosis and manifestations. But Jenny did something else for me, which is during the time that I was with Elijah, I felt immense pain. I was losing weight because I wasn't eating most of the time because I was so depressed and anxious. Jenny, she thought, well, how do I help Jay? She invited me to Unity Temple, which is where they had their Buddhist temple, and they had their ceremonies there. And I wasn't a Buddhist. I didn't really work well with any religion. I didn't have a religion because I had left my church and decided not to follow a religion. But I came because I needed to get out of my home and go somewhere and be around community and family. And so I came, and the family and the connection at Unity Temple was so loving. Everyone was so sweet to me. And Jenny was so nurturing to me during my time when I was being abused by Elijah. But at that time, I could not get Elijah off of my mind. Oftentimes, I would write text down in my notes about what I was going to say to him. I would write down the text first, and then I would send it. So I would write in my note what I wanted to say to him, and then I would copy it, and I would text it to him. So I was doing that, but I wasn't sending none of the text messages because I knew he wouldn't care. He would just leave me on read like he had done our entire relationship. But sometimes I would send them, and he would gaslight me and make me think that what I sent him was just all a lie. And it was breaking me down. And so I remember we actually reconnected. He wanted me to come back over his apartment, and he even invited me. And this is after blocking me. This is after all of that abuse. And so I came like a fool, thinking that he had changed. I hadn't seen him in 2 weeks. He just got bored and he wanted to have someone to come over and have consistent sex with again. And so I came over, and he was telling me that he was getting ready to go to a school trip. His school trip was paying for him to go to Singapore. And Christmas was kind of coming on the cusp. It was about maybe 5 or 7 days away from this time. And I remember I hadn't seen him in so long. And so I just gave him a big hug and I said, I missed you. And we immediately had sex, which is what he wanted from me. And I was just so happy to see him. So I thought, I'll give him whatever you want, He looked at me and he said, I missed you. And I said, okay. And he said, I like you. He never would tell me that he loved me. He would call me baby, or he would say, I like you, but he never would say that he loved me. I always had to say it. And so I said, you just playing. And he said, oh, am I playing? And he grabbed me and he kissed me so passionately. And I was like, oh, here I am again, falling in love with this boy again. And so I remember I thought, well, he's going to Singapore. Where else is he going to go? He's probably going to go to Paris one day. And so I remember I was sitting on his bed and he was on his phone, probably talking to another man at that time, who knows. And so I looked up at him and I said, do you think that I could travel with you? And he said, I only travel with people who I know. And I said, okay. He said, you need some friends. And I said, oh. And he said, I'll be dogging you out, don't I? And this is how he talked to me. He looked me in my eyes and he said, I'll be dogging you out, don't I? Do you know what it means to dog somebody out? It means to walk them on a leash. That's what that means. Now he's telling you that he knows that he's doing this to you. He knows that he's dogging you out. He was getting ready to go to Singapore for a whole month. He was gone for like, I think he left on December 26th, and I think they came back on January 16th. I think they came back, or January 15th, I think. I think they came back on like Martin Luther King Day, I think. I don't know if I'm saying it right, if I got it right. But I knew he was leaving for a month, and so I was like, you're about to be on in a different continent. He's about to be 9,000 miles away from me. And so I remember I came back to see him that same night. But just to be there with him was the highlight of my night. Elijah knew that I didn't have any friends. He knew it. And he used that against me, And so, I came to see him again, knowing that he was going to be going in Singapore, And so I came back, and I remember I didn't really have any money at the time. I was supposed to be starting my new job soon. I was really excited about it. I had not yet been able to work at the hospital, but I told Elijah that I was going to work at the hospital. I had this fantasy of meeting his family in Alabama, and I thought they're not going to like me if I don't have a really good job. And so I had worked in healthcare previously because I had worked at research before. So I thought, let me try to work at St. Luke's. And so I thought that if I had this fancy job at the hospital, that by the time I met Elijah's family, they would welcome me and that they would like me. And so he had to order food for us. Now, even though I didn't have any money before, I always still bought Elijah food and sent him money with no job and came through for him. He got to a point to where when he wanted to have sex with me, he no longer wanted to come pick me up. So he would make me call my own Uber to come sleep with him. But the abuse cycle, it's this thing where they're treating you low, they're treating you terrible, and then they treat you good. And so the last night that we were together before he went to Singapore, we were up really late at night and we had nothing to eat. There was really nothing in his fridge. He ordered pizza. I didn't pay for the pizza, so I felt guilty because I couldn't buy my own pizza. And so he bought it. And so when the pizza came, I woke him up and I said, your pizza's here. He said, okay, can you get it? I went to the lobby in St. Regis, grabbed the pizza and came right back. And I sat it on his bed. And I kind of sat there and watched him eat because I felt guilty because I didn't buy the pizza. So I felt like I shouldn't take a bite or grab a slice, I guess I should say. And so he looked up at me and he said, I thought you were hungry. Why aren't you eating? And those have been the sweetest words that I had heard from him in a long time. And I thought to myself, he must care about me, if he wants me to eat, I was dead wrong. After that, I went home and I was so sad because I knew that he was getting ready to leave. I didn't think I would ever see him again after he broke up with me the day before Thanksgiving. I thought I would never see him again because I hadn't seen him for 2 weeks. So he told me, he said, if you can't come over right now, I'll wait until later on when I'm done packing and talking to Auntie, and I'll call you an Uber. And I said, okay, because I wanted to come now. I said, I can sit there while you're packing. He said, well, if you come here, I'm not going to get anything packed while you're sitting here, so you have to come later. I didn't hear from him for the rest of the night, and then I didn't hear from him about the next day at all. He said nothing to me the next day. And I started to get really tired of this because he had done this to me, since we met. After everything that we had already been through, I had reunited with him. He told me how he felt about me, and now he was not saying anything to me at all. I just was like, he don't love me. He don't care about me. I knew then that I had to walk away, but I just didn't have the strength. Especially because I wasn't going to see him for a whole month, So I remember Christmas was probably about maybe 2 days away because he left for Singapore, I think the day after Christmas. And so the pipes had busted in our building. And because of that, all of our water was shut off. This was just 2 days before Christmas. And I knew that Elijah was not supposed to leave until the 26th. And so I knew that he was home. And I could see that he was active on the dating apps, but he hadn't talked to me. I thought to myself, if I could just because we couldn't shower in my apartment because the water was turned off because the pipes had busted. So we had no water supply. And I thought to myself, maybe I could go shower at Elijah's apartment at St. Regis. But I didn't ask because he had already ignored my text. And so I sat there alone day after day. Finally, it was Christmas, the day on Christmas, and I had still not heard anything from him. My family had went over to my grandparents, and they all were like, "Jay, do you want to come?" I couldn't go because I was so depressed. I couldn't believe that he had done this to me again. In my opinion, I felt like he knew that he was going to be in Asia for a whole month. And so I think that he invited me over to sleep with me a few more times before he went to Asia. And the reason why I think that is because after he had broke up with me for 2 weeks, when I came to see him, we had sex like 3 times. And like, even after we stopped the first time, he wanted to do it like 5 minutes later again. And then he did it one more time. He wanted to do it one more time. And so I thought, did you just call me over here to have a good time before you went to Asia? So I sat there on Christmas alone in my apartment, freezing with no water. And I hadn't heard anything from him. So I got so angry that I blocked him on Snapchat. I blocked him on Jack because I knew that I needed better. I mean, here I was sitting here with no water in the cold on Christmas alone, and this man had not said anything to me. He had already broke up with me the day before Thanksgiving. And now on Christmas, after making love to him just 2 days before, or 3 days before, I think, he hadn't said anything to me on Christmas. So I blocked him because I wanted better for myself. I needed a change. But the thing about being in the abuse cycle is that when you block someone who is abusing you, they have already put something in your mind that makes it hard for you to live without them. So a few days later, I unblocked him, which was one of the worst things that I could ever do.
I just need you one more time until you leave forever tonight. Why you won't stay, I can't tell. My love don't mean nothing to you, baby. Like, ow, why you leave me alone? Why you block me on your phone? You architect, but you won't build us a home. Cleopatra, help me, please help him see I'm all that he needs. Cleopatra, how you make Mark Antony, so we got the needs. Cleopatra, all the kings and the queens, they fall at your feet. Cleopatra, you make Mark Antony, so we got the needs. Cleopatra, all the kings and the queens, they fall at your feet. Like, I just need you one time before you leave forever tonight. But if you come back to me this time, I promise, boy, I will make you mine. Like, ow, why you wanna go cheat? Why you wanna see me bleed? Alabama boy from the projects, got a nigga overseas. Why he don't love me? Why he don't love me? Why he don't love me? Damn, Cleopatra, make more get the need, so we got the need. All the kings and the queens, they find the big. Make more get the need, so we got the need. All the kings and the queens, they find the big. I just
to stand up for myself. I wanted to leave him. I knew that he was using me, psychologically abusing me. He had already done so many countless horrible things to me already. And so I knew that I needed a change, but thinking of him on that plane, going to Singapore, thinking of him being that far away from me, it pulled me back. The first text message that I sent to him, this was actually December 18th. What I said to him was, hey, I tried to reach out to you on both apps because we talked on Snapchat and Jacked. I don't know what's going on, but you keep inviting me over and then canceling on me. I see you're close by and now you're not responding. I love you, man. I hope you are doing good. I just don't know what you want from me. This is kind of sad. I don't know what you want from me. I'm sorry if I bothered you. Of course, he did not respond to that, so he was continuing to ignore me like he had done before. I had no reason to apologize, but Elijah had manipulated me into making me think that me standing up for myself was wrong. He had got me to think that every time I stood up and said, you can't use me for sex, you can't abuse me, you can't do this to me anymore, that I was the one being aggressive. As I sat on the bench thinking about Elijah, oftentimes I would look up at the night sky. As I sat on the front steps of the Nelson Museum, I would look up at the sky and I would picture a plane coming in, and I would say, one day Elijah's gonna come in on that plane and he's gonna finally respect me and love me and treat me right. I just know it. I just know that we're meant to be. But I was such a damn fool. Elijah had come back. I believe it was the 16th or the 15th that he had come back from his college trip in Singapore. And I saw that his light was green again on the app. And I said, he's probably out sleeping with some guy, And mind you, he had told me maybe a few days before that he didn't think we were compatible, after telling me that he liked me, right? And so I remember he texted me on the Jacked app and he said, hey, how are you? And my heart swelled. I thought, oh my God, he's talking to me again. I said, hi. And I said, I'm good. He said, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm good. And I said, I'm about to be starting my new job soon. How are you? And how was your trip? And one thing that we have to understand is that sometimes people, they text you after it's been a month or a few weeks. They text you not to see how you're doing, but to see if they still have access. We're talking, and while we're talking on Jacked, he says, I want you to come over to my friend's house. And I said, what friend? I already told him I didn't want to do a threesome the last time he asked me. And so now I'm like, what friend? And what are y'all doing? So I said, what are y'all doing over there? And so he said, we're doing weed. We're smoking weed. And then he said, okay, we're doing ice. He said, we're doing ice. And I said, you're doing meth? And he said, yeah, but it's just a little bit, I promise. And I thought, why are you promising me anything? You don't even want to be with me. And now you're promising me that you're just doing a little bit of meth? My heart broke into pieces. Somebody that I was in love with was not just doing cocaine. He was doing meth now, crystal meth. And I said, Elijah, where are you right now? And I didn't even have a car. I had to Uber. I said, where are you right now? I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you, out of that house. You're not doing meth. I mean, I already put up with the STDs. I already put up with the cocaine, and now you're doing meth. I felt so bad for him because nobody knew. His family didn't know. I don't think. I don't think anyone knew. His colleagues didn't know. His job didn't know. But I knew, and I didn't feel like I was doing enough. I wanted to help. And so he wouldn't respond to me anymore. I believe that they slept together after they would do the meth. I guess, allegedly, they would sleep together. I mean, I could say allegedly, but I pretty much, that's what he did all the time. And so I didn't hear from him all that night. And so the next night, he called me over. But it was at 2 a.m. He texted me on the Jacked app. And I said, Elijah, I don't know why you treat me like I'm worthless. I said, but you never have to worry about seeing me ever again. And probably about an hour after that, I thought he was going to say, fine, or I don't care, or whatever. As soon as I told him that he treated me like I was worthless and that he'll never have to see me again, about an hour later, he texted me, I want you to come beat this pussy up. I did not matter. I did not matter to him. As soon as he said that, I want you to come beat this pussy up, within an hour, I got dressed and took an Uber to go see him at 5 in the morning. Because respecting myself was not as important as being there for him, going to sleep with him, going to be with him, going to cook for him. I slept with him, and the next day he woke up and he said, "Can you go home? Like right now, like, can you go home?" And I went home. Being sad all the time, I feel so depressed. I'm so sick of being sad all the time, I feel so depressed. I just wanna let my head down, I feel so depressed. Go on and get one for me tonight, I'm so depressed. I know that the club is going up tonight, while I'm crying in this bed. Everybody laughing while my heart is tight, I'm crying in this bed. I feel like everybody is getting paper, while I'm crying in this bed. My friends is going on trips to Jamaica, while I'm crying in this bed. Gon' get it for me. Gon' get it for me. Said I go down low with it when I get depressed. I said I go down low with it when I get depressed. Said I drop it till I blow with it when I get depressed. Said I drop it till I blow with it when I get depressed. Can you say and I was so nervous about starting this new job. So I just wanted to get some coffee and just sit and just try to, get myself ready. before I worked this night shift because the job was a night shift job. And my mom said that she would give me a ride to the job. I said, okay, I'm going to be at Barnes & Noble. Come pick me up from there. And as I checked my Snapchat, I was just going through my messages. And as I sat there, Elijah just blocked me on Snapchat. And I hadn't even texted him. I just could see that he had blocked me. It showed an X by his name. He just blocked me randomly. And it was almost as if my brain had like split into two because I didn't know whether to scream and cry or whether to just hold it all inside. And as soon as that happened, my mom came and got me. She said, I'm outside, come on down so we can go to this job, and work the night shift. And so I came downstairs and I thought, don't tell her, because I knew she was going to, my mom is so hard on me, and I knew she was going to be so hard on me, and I came down, I got in the car, and I tried to hold it in, and I just started crying, and I broke down. I had a mental breakdown in the car. I said, I don't know, what did I do to him for him to keep treating me like this? We had just slept together a few days ago. I didn't do anything wrong, as I can think of. Why is he doing this to me? I had a breakdown in my mom's car, and I said, he is on meth. I said, he's using meth, and I'm trying to help him, and I'm trying to be there for him. And I've never been hard on him about being a sex addict. I've never been hard on him about being a drug addict. Why is he disrespecting me like this? And so I just opened up the car door and I said, well, I'm getting out. And I remember I started walking, and I sat at the library, which was close by his apartment, the Plaza Library, because we hadn't really pulled off so far from Barnes & Noble, so I still was kind of close by. And I sat and I texted him. I said, because he blocked me on Snapchat, but he had not blocked me on Jack yet. I don't know why he didn't block me on both, but this particular time, he kept me on Jack, but he blocked me on Snapchat just because he wanted to. And so I texted him on Jack and I said, you are a horrible person. I said, I have done nothing wrong to deserve this treatment from you. And as soon as I said that, about 30 minutes later, he said, yeah, I got to change. I can't keep going through the semester like this. And I thought, did you just hear what I said? This isn't about you. This isn't about your semester. This is about what you're doing to me. And I said, why did you block me? I didn't do anything wrong. Why did you do this to me? And I sat at the library, and I remember I previously Googled, somebody that I love is on drugs. How do I help them? I Googled it into my phone because I wanted to help him get off the meth, the cocaine, and whatever else he was doing behind my back. I got so many pamphlets, but they were all online, like online pamphlets or whatever, on how to help someone who's who's struggling with drug abuse or drug addiction. And I had this fear that he was going to die from an overdose. And the reason why is because he had told me that he had a seize attack and that he almost died when he had first tried cocaine when I first left his home. I said, oh my God. I said, he's doing all this because of the drugs. All this time, all the things he's done to me, everything, the blocking. I said, this is all because of the drugs. The drugs have damaged his brain. But that was not what it was. That was just him. That was really him, minus the drugs. He was like that when he was sober. But at that time, I just kept thinking, he's not responding. What's going on? And so I said, I got to get him off these drugs. That's why he's doing this to me. It's the drugs. It's got to be. Later on, my therapist told me that I actually didn't believe that he was capable of disrespecting me and hurting me like this. And my brain didn't want to accept that a human being could be that cruel. If you ask me right now, I genuinely do believe that Elijah is an evil person. Even right now, as I'm making this documentary, I do believe. It took me a long time to gather that. But if you ask me, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, this is not a fact, I believe that Elijah is evil. But at that time, I was still seeing the good in him, and I thought he's not responding because he had told me about 3 days ago that he was doing meth, and so I was like, he's about to overdose. He's going to die. So I walked up to the library assistant, the worker who was working at the desk, and I said, can I get a piece of paper, please? And I wrote on a note, and I actually kept this note for a long time, but I don't have it anymore because I threw it away about a month ago. I threw it away. But I wrote on the note, I said, dear Elijah, I said, drugs and weed and sex, none of these things are going to help change your life. They're not going to make anything better. They're only going to kill you. And I wrote that note because I was going to go to his home and I was going to slide it under the door in his apartment. So I walked over and someone let me in. Someone always let me in through the front door. And I knocked on his door. I never intruded once. I never intruded. I always knocked at his door, and if he didn't respond, or I would go back home. But I knocked on his door, and he answered it, and he said, "What's going on?" I said, "Are you okay?" And I had tears in my eyes, and he led me inside. And when I came inside, I said, "You got to get off of this meth." And I started crying, and I said, "You got to stop doing meth." I said, "Are you high right now?" And he said, "No, I'm not high. What do you want?" And I said, you got to stop doing these drugs, okay? I said, this meth is going to kill you. I just had this big fear that he was going to die from an overdose. I just kept thinking about it every night. I said, "You got to get off this meth." I said, "I've been doing some research, and they said meth is one of the hardest drugs to kick. It's harder than cocaine. I mean, it's addictive." And so I remember he checked his phone, and he saw that I had called him a few times, because I kept calling him, and he wasn't responding. So I just knew that he was either doing the meth or that he was going to overdose. And so I said, "Why did you block me on Snapchat? Why did you do that?" And he said, "That's just what I do." He looked me dead in my eyes and said that. I missed a whole week of work. I didn't go to work. My mom drove off and went to work because she couldn't take off of work. She's supposed to take me to her job to work with her. And now that I asked him why he had blocked me, he said, "That's what I do." And I said, "You're breaking my heart." I said, "You're breaking my heart." Elijah, he said, "Well, I told you, I just don't connect with people." But I thought, well, but why block me? So that was my first intervention that I had for him. That was actually my intervention that I did. And I thought, I wonder if his parents found out that I had an intervention for their son, would they accept me into their lives? Would they love me if I ever got to meet them? But I had an intervention for him. And so I sat him on his bed, and I said, "Do you know how harmful meth is?" And he said, "I don't know the difference between meth and cocaine." He said, "What's the difference?" And so I gave him all these facts from the website that I had found. And I told him, I said, I said, cocaine, I said, meth will kill you, man. I said, I watched a video of a lady who did meth, and she was in prison, and she said she still dreams of meth. He said, "She dreams of it." I said, "Yeah, because it's that addictive, And so after that, a few minutes after that, he got up and he said, "I'm calling my weed man." And I said, "I should have never came here." And he said, "Yeah, you came unannounced. You came to my home unannounced." I said, "I thought that you were gonna overdose on drugs." And so I looked at him and I said, "Elijah, do I mean anything to you at all?" And he said, "Well, it means a lot that you came by." I got up and I said, "I'm getting out of here." I said, "I should have never came here. Here I am doing an intervention for you. I wrote a note for you to help you, see that I care, that I want to get you off drugs. And here you are calling your weed man over." And he even told me, he said, "I like him. I like him." This is like 10 minutes after the intervention that I did for him. And so I said, "I'm leaving. I should have never came here." And he said, "Will you just wait? Will you just wait?" And I thought, what? You want me to sit here and feel more worthless? So I sat back down, and he said, "I'll be right back. I'm going to go to my car." And I'm like, what is this guy? What is he doing? And so when he came back, he handed me a box of chocolates. And he put them in my hand, and he said, "These are from Singapore." I didn't expect him to do that. These are reasons why I stayed despite the abuse, because he would do things like that. And I know that he couldn't show me that he loved me. I know that he couldn't do it. So he gave me a box of chocolates or food as a way to show that he loved me, because he didn't have no other way to show me. And I looked at the chocolates and he said, "Don't ever say I didn't give you anything." Because I think that he could see that I really did care. And so that was his way of saying thank you. because he didn't say thank you when I came by. He didn't say thank you. I mean, I gave him everything. I told him, I said you got to stop doing meth. I told him all the health factors. I told him, I said, do you know that people who do meth are more likely to catch HIV? I want to talk about emotional abuse, and I wanted to take this segment of the documentary to talk about the events that occurred in February. When we were off and on, I suffered a lot of different things. I suffered love bombing, which in my opinion is abuse, because it's false feelings, it's false love that is used to trap you or keep you in a certain cycle. But I also want to talk about love bombing, and then I want to talk about emotional abuse, because they're two coins, two sides of the same coin, but they also are kind of different in their own way. And so, he never took me on any dates. He never took me anywhere special, really. I would always kind of have to try to set up things, but he canceled most of those dates. But he took me to go get food, and so we went to go chicken go. But it was at night. He always wanted to go somewhere at night, and so we went. And on our way there, he's calling me baby, and he's baby this and baby and tell me when I make my turn, because we had to go somewhere else first, and so I was kind of helping him get there a little easier. And so while we're in the drive-through, at Go Chicken Go, one thing about this boy would eat anything. Elijah would eat anything. He just had a really big appetite, and he talked about food. He loved food. And before we even got to Go Chicken Go, he just kept saying, "It's gonna be good, huh? It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good, Jay. It's gonna be good, huh? It's gonna be good." And even when we got to the window to order the Go Chicken Go, he just was, "It's about to be good. It's about to be good, huh? It's about to be so good." And he bought me gizzards because I like gizzards, and then he got liver. And so while we were in the drive-through, he looked at me and he said, you're so handsome, like you're so beautiful, and like I just love your eyes, and you're just so, and I'm just all mesmerized, like, oh my God. And so he pulled up to my place to drop me off, and he said something to me that was really, really, really special to me. About maybe 3 or 4 days before that, I was getting out of his bed to get ready to go back to my place. And I kissed him on his forehead as he laid in bed, and I said, "Have a good day, and don't let those people stress you out." Because I knew that his job was kind of stressing him out. And so as he dropped me off, I think it might have been about a week later, as he had dropped me off after taking me to Go Chicken Go, right before I got out of the car, he looked at me and he said, "Have a good day, and don't let those people stress you out." And I looked at him and I said, "You remember that I said that to you?" And he said, and I reached to give him a hug. And as soon as I did that, he gave me a kiss. And that's love bombing. I used to believe that was real, but after all the things that he had done to me after that, I just couldn't accept that was really him, or that's how he really felt. But I want to really talk about emotional abuse during February, because something strange happened during February while I was with him. And what that is the veil has started to fall. He realized that he had already love bombed me, devalued me, and discarded me. I remember one time I came to see him, and he just kept saying things. He said, "You're weird. You're awkward. You're weird. He called me a Debbie Downer. He said, I make weird noises. I'm awkward." And then the next morning when I woke up, he was ironing his clothes to go to work, and he said, "Hey, last night we had our first fight. And I said, "We didn't have a fight. You just was really rude and disrespectful to me." So that's devaluing. And then after that, it would be the discarding. He'd already done that over and over again. And still something had happened that he did not expect. I still was there. I still showed up. And so he didn't expect that. And so he knew that the whole game of love bombing and discarding, he knew that was over. So now it was time for the emotional abuse. During February, he did this thing where he would pretend that we weren't together one day, and then the next day he would be calling me baby, or we'd be cuddling. And so he knew that I had been in an open relationship in my past. He knew about it because we talked about it. But I told him, I said, "I don't want an open relationship with you." I said, "I tried it and it failed." Did that matter to him? Absolutely not. I even told him one time, "Can you stop mentioning the guys that you sleep? Can you just stop talking about it?" Because he knew I didn't like it. He knew I didn't want it. Not only did he ask me to be in the threesome once, which I told him no, he would oftentimes try to bring a guy over while we were in bed together, and I told him no. And so in February, I texted him, I said, I just want to come see my baby, and he opened it and he ignored it. And so I took a long walk, and as I was walking, about 3 days later, I hadn't heard from him, probably about three days, he texted me, and he said, "You okay? You okay?" Because that's what he always would do. And I said, what is this? I said, I'm tired of being confused. I'm tired of feeling like this. What's really going on? And so I asked to come see him that same night. And so when I came over that same night, he actually, we sat and we talked. And what was so crazy is he actually cooked for me and him. He made chicken and rice. And it was so different from the old him because I noticed that he was starting to change. The guy who told me, I remember one day I was rubbing his back and I said, okay, can you rub mine? He said, I'm in architecture, not in healthcare. And I said, okay, meanie, all right, whatever. And so the guy that was selfish was cooking for me. And this was the first time that he'd ever cooked for me. And he did it so meticulously. I mean, he made chicken and rice, he chopped it up for me. And he took his time with it, and he made sure I had a bowl just like he had a bowl. And I'm playing our song. One of the songs that I dedicated to us was Janet Jackson's "Anytime, Anyplace." And so I'm playing it, and he's singing "Anytime," and I'm looking at this man cook for me, and I'm like, oh, we really working, like we really finally fixing things. And so while he's cooking, I'm dancing, and I'm watching him. And he's making sure that my bowl looks just as good as his bowl. He's got the chicken, the rice, and he's really taking time with detail. And he grabs the bowl of rice, my bowl, and he goes, here, child. And he said, that's what my auntie would say to us back in the country. That's how they would talk to us. I thought to myself, wait a minute, you're starting to treat me like I'm just like like I'm matter, like what's going on right here, and it didn't feel the same. We sat on the bed, we ate together, and we talked, and he was telling me that he had went to a church and that he had hid his lighter from him, which I was so proud of him that he had did that. And so he told me about, and this is what kind of concerned me. He told me about the cocaine again. We were talking about the cocaine. He told me that he went to work one time on cocaine. And he told me something. He said, I feel like the cocaine, I feel like it helps me to process things faster. And I got really scared. I said, oh God, how am I gonna get this boy off of these drugs? Now he thinks that the drugs are helping him,
But cocaine to me was a devastating drug. And one of the things is, if you are addicted to cocaine, it's not like a heroin addict where you see track marks. It's not like a meth addict where you see all the picking in the scabs, you see the missing teeth. When it comes to cocaine, it's really knowing that somebody's an addict is actually hard to pick up on. Some of the signs if somebody is really a cocaine addict, one, they're going to be spending a lot of money. They're probably always going to be kind of broke, or they're going to be always looking for money. They're going to be looking for quick money too, because you want to get that high back. If you see a massive boost in their confidence, that's another sign that somebody can be a coke addict. And now don't get me wrong, it's not to diagnose anybody or be like, hey, look at them. But when it's a combination of a lot of these, it really means that this person has done something that's altering their life right now. And cocaine gives you this huge ego boost. It gives you this almost like the superpower feeling inside, like you're unstoppable, that you're cool. It really is weird what it does to your head.
And so I'm like, hey, no. But at the time, I'm still trying to listen. I didn't really want to be too hard on him. And so he got up and he started telling me about the drugs, and he started telling me that he wants to smoke less weed, and he's thinking if he doesn't do too much weed, it might not have a deep effect on him. And while he's saying this, I'm just happy that the man is opening up to me. And while he's saying this, his phone is under my arm because I was kind of laying on the bed. And so while he's talking to me, the phone started vibrating. It was his auntie that was calling him. And I ignored the call because I'm like, I'm finally getting him to open up to me. I'm not letting no phone call interrupt this. And so the phone is just vibrating, and I'm listening like, okay, yeah, And he's telling me, oh, I feel like the drugs is this, and I feel like if I can just stop doing this and all that. And so he goes, is my phone ringing? And I'm like, oh yeah, your phone's ringing. And it was his auntie that had called him. And when she called him, she was fussing at him, and Elijah, he told me that his auntie struggled with him being gay, that she struggled with his homosexuality, and that it took her a long time to kind of come to the terms with it, that she really didn't like it. And he said, does your brothers know that you're gay? Do they know? I said, yeah, Sunday, February 12th, I came to see him, and it was just us. I got this man to myself. And, as we sat there, we just laughed and really enjoyed each other. And I remember when the Chiefs won, he was so happy. Because he just kept making jokes the whole time about, oh, if we lose, oh. And we actually got to watch my Chiefs win. And that was a really important moment to me. After that, he had decided, well, I had decided that, maybe we should try to go out, why don't we go out and have some fun, and so we had, we went out and we went driving at night. I told him, I said, we should go out to celebrate the Super Bowl. Everybody's out there, let's go out. And so he drove, and as he's driving, I'm yelling out the window because I'm so happy. I'm with my man. On top of that, we just won. And so I'm screaming and I'm yelling. While Rihanna was performing, Elijah looked at me. He said, hey, if she can do anything, I can do anything, because she black just like me, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, oh, like, look at him. Oh my God, like, yes. Oh, like we're doing this, we're making this work. And so as we're out driving, I'm yelling out the window, screaming, going crazy. And, he's driving us downtown, and downtown was so packed, and there was really nowhere to really park, or just everything was just like cluttered with cars. People were screaming. People were sitting on top of cars, and people were screaming and shouting. And I looked over at him and I took a video of us together. And I used to have all those videos. I used to have a lot of pictures of Elijah in my phone, but I deleted all of them because he kept breaking up with me. He kept manipulating me. He kept telling me that we weren't together, and then we were together, we weren't. And so I deleted all those pictures. And I even thought about going to the Apple store one day to see if I could find the video from the Super Bowl night. But as we were looking around at night, I was so happy just to be with him. And I remember all these cars were just going around, and people were screaming, people were dancing on top of cars. And it really looked like we were gonna make it because we had already been through so much together. So it looked like we were really gonna make it. And as we were driving, he started to be kind of mean to me, which is, what he would do. And he said, oh, are you having fun, babe? Is this fun to you? I said, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. What do you mean? Yeah, I'm having fun. And he was like, oh, whatever, yeah, whatever. And I looked over at him because he started saying little things. He started saying stuff. And I said, oh my God, don't kill this moment. And I put my hand, because I always had to tell Elijah to be nice. I always say, be nice, you have to be nice. I put my hand on his neck and I rubbed his neck and I said, hey, calm down. You don't have to be like that. And he said, am I being a bastard to you? And I said, yeah. And he said, I'm sorry. And I thought, he's showing signs of accountability, which is not like narcissists, And so I remember as we were driving, his sister sent him a Snapchat. She had like a really funny filter on her face, and he said, "Look at my sister." And I was like, "Oh, he told me that she was gay," and so I thought, okay, she's gay and I'm gay, and we're all gonna just have like this fun family, And so he tells me, he goes, "I'm gonna take you to Alabama to meet my family." And I'm like, hell yeah! This is while he's driving. We finally made it through all that traffic downtown the same night of the Super Bowl, and I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go meet your family. He goes, you ain't ready. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go. I'd love to meet your family. And so when we got back home, he put on this show for us, and he wouldn't stop screaming. He just kept running around going, oh. And I'm just like, oh my God, will you sit down? Then he got on me, started dancing on me and acting crazy. And I really started to feel like he was actually seeing me as someone of value in his life. Someone who didn't walk away or didn't stay away like the other guys. I actually was really here. And we started to kind of play around, and he had this money from Singapore. I would have still had the chocolates that he gave me, but one day he made me so mad that I threw those chocolates out the windows in my apartment. I threw them out my window because made me really mad one day. But he had this money from Singapore, and I started to dance. I started to dance on him. He sat in his office chair, and I started to kind of dance and kind of pull my clothes. And he took the money. I said, "You guys, if I'm gonna dance on you, you got some money?" He took the money from Singapore and he started throwing it on me as I was dancing on him. And I sat on his lap, and he grabbed a hold of me and he held me. And he wouldn't let me go. And he rocked me. And he held me in that armchair. And that was like one of the first times that I really, really felt nurtured by him. And he looked at the game, and he just held me. He held on to me, and he would not let me go. And after that, we started to kind of play around, and he started to play fight because he loved to play fight. He always liked to wrestle. This boy loved to wrestle because he used to play football. And so he was wrestling me, and I just was like, trying to keep up with him, because he had those big muscles, and he had pushed me onto the bed, and he kissed me passionately. It was a deep, deep, passionate kiss. And it wasn't like anything that we had ever done before. It felt like he had kissed me for hours. And he romanced me. It wasn't the same hypersexualized person. It was someone who was kissing me slow and deep. And he just looked into my eyes. And he just stared into my eyes. And I looked at him and I said, "Your eyes are hazel?" And he said, and I had never looked him that long in the eyes before to even really notice that. And what's so strange is, after that, he didn't just rush in for, let's do it. He just held me. And I thought to myself, I really had something with him. But I was dead wrong. Right after that, 2 days later on Valentine's Day, he posted on his Snapchat, he said, all the singles are at the gym. And I didn't hear from him at all on Valentine's Day. And so when I saw that Snapchat, I commented and I said, "Hey, how's your day going?" I'm like, why would you say you're single? Like, why would you do that? And I said, "Hey, how's your day going?" And he opened it. This is on Valentine's Day. He opened it and he ignored me. And I texted him. I said, "Did I do something wrong?" And he said, "No, LOL." After that, I asked to go on 2 dates with him. He agreed to go to both of those dates, and then he did not show up to those dates. I told him I wanted to take him out to the Classic Cup. I told him that I would pay for everything. I told him that I would take him to go play pool. I called him the night before. I said, "Hey, do you want to go play pool? You want to go to the Classic Cup? I'll pay for it." And he said, "Yeah, it sounds fun." He said, "Just come to my place, and then we'll go to there from there." And so the next day, I got dressed up real nice. I put on some of my brother's cologne because I never really wear cologne. And I sat outside of his home calling him, trying to figure out why he was not answering. And he texted me, he said, "I don't want to go out. I don't want to hang out." And he always talked about his ex. And he told me that their relationship had ended. And he said, "I cheated on him though." And as he said this, I held him right in my arms like he was my own child. And he said to me, "I cheated on him." And I said, "Oh, was it once?" And he said, "No, 3 times. And he told me that his ex had come down to Alabama with him to be with his family and that he had showed up for him. And so as he said this to me, he had no remorse in his voice. He just sounded like he was sad that the relationship had ended. And so I said, "You cheated on him 3 times? And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, how did he find out?" And Elijah told me, he said, "Oh, I would just turn off my location when I would do it." And that is when I realized that I wasn't dating someone who was a victim. I was dating someone who was not only a full-fledged narcissist, a chronic cheater, but who was a man-eater, a victimizer. I knew I had a sex addict on my hands. I always knew it, but at that very moment, as I held him in my arms, all I could see was my baby. All I could see was my man that I loved deeply. And I held him and I had my head in his little curls and I looked at him and I said, "How you feel?" And he said, "I feel better now." And he jumped up and he went to go smoke. And I came into the bathroom and I said, "You don't have to do that." And he said, I said, "Stop." And he said, "No." He yelled at me. He said, "No." And he said, look at me. And I said, "Yeah, you got an addiction, man." But I didn't judge him. I never judged him for his sex addiction. I never judged him. I knew I had a problem on my hands. I knew it. I didn't know that he was victimizing other men around the city at that time, but there were starting to be small little clues that I was not dating a victim. I was dating someone who was a victimizer. After that, I woke up in the morning and I looked at him and I said, "You want me to leave?" And he said, "You don't have to leave. It's only 4 a.m. in the morning. You have to go nowhere." And he got on his laptop and started working. But I found something at St. Regis. Although my relationship with him ended terribly, I found something. I discovered something. I discovered the secret to life and the secret to my happiness. You see, one thing about me is I had always been ostracized by the gay community. I had always been looked down. I was never accepted. Just like Elijah, I found it hard to connect with people. I was always too gay for the gay people, and I was always too gay for the straight people, and I was always too naked for the gay people, and I was always too weird for the gay people, and I was never accepted by anyone. Nobody liked me, and very few people appreciated my music. When I woke up in that apartment. I saw someone who had made a lot of mistakes, who had done these horrible things, but I saw someone who was working on their laptop, dedicated to their work, who had just told me that I didn't have to leave and go into the code. I saw a potential future with him. One night he told me that his grandfather was sick. He was in St. Louis. And I texted him. I said, "What's going on? Where are you?" He said, "I'm at the hospital with Grandpa." And I said, "What's going on?" He said, "He's sick." And I texted him. I said, "Everything is going to be all right." Later, we would talk about his grandfather. And I started to feel like I was really becoming family with this guy. I told him, I said, "I got the realest family in the world. My family is sweet. My people are real." And he looked up at me and he said, "What about me?" And I said, "Yeah, you're my family too. You're a part of my family too." When I woke up in St. Regis on that cold morning, I looked over at him and I watched him type, and he was singing Kirk Franklin because he loved Kirk Franklin. And I realized it didn't matter if anybody liked me. It didn't matter if people subscribed to my page or bought my content. It didn't matter who liked or who commented, who shared. It didn't matter who followed me or unfollowed me. All that mattered is that I had a new life with this handsome little chocolate boy from Alabama who was traveling the world and building a school in Venezuela. And I remember Jenny saying something when she spoke at the Buddhist temple. She said, "Follow your flow, follow the flow." For the first time ever, I was content, even though I was sitting across from someone who I would later find out was a victimizer of many men in my city. At that moment, I realized that all I really needed in life was to feel that deep content of being grounded. Elijah may have not given me anything in return for the love that I gave him. But what I discovered in St. Regis was a secret to life and a secret to my happiness. It didn't matter who didn't like me, who watched me, who subscribed, who paid for my content, who bought my music, if the Grammy Academy ever honored me, or if I ever got to tour. All that mattered was that I was following my flow and letting go, and for once, being content with my life. After that moment when I left his apartment, I later on came back and asked him would he spend time with me on my birthday. And he looked me in my eyes and told me that he could not do it because he was too busy. I had given somebody every single piece of me, and they had only given me scraps. And that is when I knew that my relationship was slowly dying, because this boy did not think I deserved a single piece of his love and affection. And I realized that all the affection that he had given me might have just been manipulation to keep me around. Some days I question if the love that he gave me at all was real or fake. There's days where I can't decide. But what I know is that when I looked him in his eyes, I told him, I said, "If I leave you, you're never gonna find somebody like me ever again." And moments after that, he looked at me and he said, "I'm gonna smoke and forget all about you." Those are the words that Elijah spoke to me on March 8th. And I'll never forget it. Hi guys, so I'm here at one of my favorite places, one of my comfort places, which is Nelson Atkins Museum. And so I come here at night sometimes. Hopefully the cicadas and the wind is not isn't too loud. But I'm out here on this gorgeous night and it's so hot that I took my shirt off. But you know, I come here to the Nelson because it has always been a place of peace for me, especially for a guy who has not gotten to travel as much as he has wanted to in his younger years and being a painter. But the reason why I came here on this particular night is to talk about some of the verbal abuse that I experienced. And coming here to this place, this is where I would come sometimes at night when I would deal with the abuse. You know, I never thought that a person who was so sweet to me at one time would eventually turn into such a horrible person who psychologically tortured me and seemed to enjoy it sometimes. Sometimes he seemed to enjoy it. And so I remember about two months after we continued dating, I asked him while we were driving one night to get something to eat because all he would do is take me to get something to eat, and that wasn't frequent either. He did nothing else. He took me nowhere else. And we passed by the Nelson, and I said, can we go to the Nelson, because we both like art. You know, you're in architecture and I'm an artist, I'm a painter. Can we go to the Nelson? It'd be really fun. And he said, it's too cold. And I said, okay. And sometimes I would check his Snapchat and he'd be hanging out with other friends in the cold. And so I thought, well, you know, what's going on? And I remember about maybe a month later, I asked him, I said, I want to go to the Nelson with you. We still haven't gone. And he looked at me, Elijah looked at me, and he said, we need to reassess. We need to reevaluate. And so I thought to myself, you know, we didn't need to reassess when it was time to sleep together. When it was time for me to give you my body, we didn't have to ever reassess that. You know, when it was time for me to come and cook for you, you know, he called me one night and said, I want to eat something. Give me some McDonald's, give me some pizza. I want something to eat. When it was time for me to get him something to eat, that was fine. But taking me to a museum is something that I was not worthy of from him. And so I did what I always do. I took myself out alone. And I came here one night, and he knew, because he always checked my Snapchat to see what I was doing. And as I continue to take the abuse from him, I would come here. But one thing that I want to say is, there were times where he would say really, really sweet things and really soft things to me. I remember one time he was laying in bed and I was tucking him in bed like I usually did. And I pulled the blanket over me. He said, put it on my feet. And I put it over his little feet. And he looked at me and he said, you're such a gentleman. And he gave me a big hug. And this is somebody, you know, who would wake me up. Elijah would wake me up at the middle of the night and say, Jay, can you give me pizza and Sprite? And I would get up and get this man his meal and bring it to him in bed. And I remember one particular night, we were laying together like we always did. And he turned over to me and he said, Jay, make love to me. And I did just that. And so someone who was that sweet to me also said the most horrible, devaluing things to me. He was being really mean to me one night. Really, 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 really rude. He was saying a lot of horrible things to me. One night I kind of stood up to him. And so I give people chances, you know, especially if I'm in love with them. I give them chances. And one night I stood up to him because he was being really mean to me. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, have a spine. Have a spine. And I thought to myself, did this man just tell me to have a spine? I mean, you've done all these horrible, disgusting things to me. And you think the reason why I forgave you, or the reason why I tried to move past, or the reason why I made excuses for you is because I don't have a spine? No, it's because I loved you. But he didn't understand that. He thought that my love was weakness. Because he did not love me at all. And it took me a long time to realize that. But, you know, I've always had a spine. During the making of this documentary, there are so many things that I'm facing. Someone who is very dear to me, their ex-boyfriend recently took his life about a month ago, and I had to be there for him while I was making this documentary. Also, my brothers told me that my dad was battling cancer while I was making this documentary. And so I had to go through all of that because I have a spine. But, you know, when it comes to my dad, when they told me that he had cancer, it was so hard to try to feel sorry for him, to try to bring those tears out, because my dad broke parts of my mom's body that never healed correctly. When my mom was pregnant with my sister, I watched my dad push my mom into a wall, and she fell on the floor crying. And he looked at her and said, "You all right? Get up, get up." My dad dislocated my mom's arm, and to this day, she still cannot lift her arm all the way up without feeling some kind of pain or discomfort. This is what Jason Hunter Sr. did to my mom. And so when they told me that he was battling cancer, it was so hard to feel sorry for a stranger who abused your mom for 20 years and then neglected you and your family. And I did not know that Elijah was abusing me because I grew up seeing physical abuse. I didn't know that the verbal and the psychological abuse that boy caused me, I did not know that it was just as serious as the physical abuse that my mom experienced. But it was. There are some times where I remember some of the horrible things that Elijah said to me, and I have to kind of dissociate for a little bit and look away and remember how horrible he talked to me, like I was not worth the dirt on the street. And then I have to come back. And there are some days that I just wish that I did not get in that car with him. I just wish in my soul that when he texted me on September 24th and said, do you want to meet up and do you want to hook up, and I would love to shoot with you. I would love to do a video with you. If you want to come shoot your videos at my apartment, you can. Some days I wish that I just did not get in that car. But then some days I'm glad that I got in that car, because now I get to help people who have been raped by their significant other, who have been abused, who have dealt with a narcissist that has psychologically traumatized them. I one day hope to bring somebody here who's very special to me. Hopefully I get to. I love coming to the Nelson. All I wanted him to do was take me out, show me a good time. And Elijah refused to give me anything because he did not think I was worth anything. But I deserve love. I deserve to be taken out to dinner. One night I asked Elijah, I said, I want to take you to Buca. I want to take you to Buca di Beppo and get some Italian food. It was right in the middle of the plaza. It was perfect. And I wanted to take him out and show him a good time. And he told me no. This man wanted access to my body fully. He wanted to kiss me all night. He wanted to hug me. He wanted to lay in my chest. He used to lay in my chest and I would play in his hair and I would hold him all night. I'm so glad that I survived him. And if I didn't have a backbone, I would not have survived him. I'd probably be, you know, I remember when I was in my BLS class and they were talking about fentanyl, and this is probably about maybe 2 weeks after me and Elijah had kind of called it quits. And I remember they were talking about the fentanyl, and they said if anybody is doing cocaine or meth, it's probably laced with fentanyl. And anybody who's doing that, they're gonna end up dead. And all I could think about was Elijah, because we had just broke up probably about maybe 2 weeks before that. And I had tears in my eyes in my BLS class. I had to take a certified class to work at the hospital to be able to resuscitate someone. And all I could think about was him. And I kept thinking, he's going to die. He's going to die. And I kept blaming myself. Why didn't you, call his mom and tell her that he had it, or that he was doing drugs, or why you didn't? And I kept thinking I didn't do enough. And so I actually came by his home uninvited. He actually told me. I called him. I sat right on the Nelson steps and I called him and I said, hello? And he said, yeah, who is this? I said, hello? I said, are you okay? And he said, oh, and he hung up. And about a week before that, I came to check on him. I came unannounced. And I knocked on Elijah's door because I was so afraid that he was going to die from drugs. One time he had done some meth and I came over to see him and he slept for a very, very long time. I don't want to exaggerate and say that it was 12 hours, but it might have been about 12 to 14 hours. I watched him sleep because he had done meth, and I watched him. He had done it at someone's home, and then when he came to his apartment, I came over, and he slept that long. And so I came to his apartment. I knocked on his door, and he had told me not to come, and I still came because I was so afraid that he was going to have this overdose. I was so scared of him having an overdose because he had upgraded from the cocaine to the meth. And he was talking about it as if it was anyway, I came by and he opened his door and he said, what are you doing here? And I said, are you okay? And I said, I just want to talk to you. And so when I came inside, he let me in. He always let me in. If I did come by, he always let me in. And anytime he said leave or anything, I always left. That's why if you see the text messages, he said I did nothing wrong, because I didn't. I never did anything to him. I never even called him a name or anything. I think one time he made me mad and I might have said a slur towards him, but I never put my hands on him. I never tried to hurt him. Never tried to hurt Elijah. I never did, because I loved him. And I remember I came inside and I said, I got my new job. And he said, is that what you wanted to talk about? And that was probably the second time that I had come by his home unannounced, just because I was so worried about it. But when I came in, after he let me in, he actually told me to get out. Get out, get out. He didn't want to hear what I had to say. And I asked him to get a therapist. I said, I want you to get a therapist. I want to help you get a therapist. And he said, get out, just get out, get out. And what people don't understand is when Elijah went to Singapore, from Singapore, he texted me on the Jack app and told me that he didn't think we were compatible and that he didn't want anything with me. The reason why the message that I wrote in my phone, the reason why that message is dated January 17th is because the day that Elijah got back from Singapore, he texted me. This is after telling me that he didn't think we were compatible. This is after saying, I don't want this anymore. You know, we'd already been together for about 5 months. And now he was telling me this. The day that he returned from Singapore, the next day after he made it to the United States, he texted me immediately to see if he can meet up with me, to see me, and to be with me. So someone was kicking me out of their home, telling me to leave, don't come by. But they had psychologically, for the past 5 months, they hadn't left me alone. He would not leave me alone after telling me that he didn't want to be with me, or that we weren't together, or that he didn't think we were compatible anymore. He would still text me and call me. That's why if you look at the text message, I'm asking him to leave me alone. Because once he told me that he didn't think we were compatible after dating for 5 months, I left him alone. He went to another country for a month. And as soon as he came back from that country, he texted me to see what was I doing and could we meet up. And of course, after that, we continued to date for the whole month of February. And this is someone who was, after all of that, telling me to leave their home because he had used me for everything. It was over. The game was over. I was nothing to him. I was never anything to him. And so now that he had used me, psychologically tortured me, played with me, lied to me, broke up with me over and over again, while he slept with all these other men, he had now finally discarded me. I no longer mattered because he couldn't use me anymore, because the fun was over. The game was over. He was ready for his next victim, his next person. But I want people to know that I tried everything I could to help him get off of drugs. I Googled. If you look at my search history in February, I Googled, how do I help someone get off of meth? How do I help him get off of... Because I tried everything I could to get him off of those drugs. But while I was helping him, he was psychologically breaking me down bit by bit. But I knew that it was time to say goodbye. And I want to show a text message that I wrote for him. This is a text message that I wrote for him. Sometimes when Elijah would, make me angry, or when he would break me down, I would go to my notes in my phone and I would write a text that I was going to send to him, but I would pre-write it in my notes first. And so I wanted to read that. And it's titled Okay. That's just what I named it, just so I can keep track of it. But I said, okay, I'm done, Elijah. I'm so tired of being ghosted and ignored by you. If you don't want a relationship with me, why contact me? All I want is to be your man, but you don't want me. I've spent 3 months trying to do anything to please you, but you don't want me. Why can't you just leave me alone if you don't think we're compatible? I'm in love with you, but I'll find somebody else that respects me. More of these notes, but I deleted some of them. I don't know why I kept this one. I actually found this one on accident. I just was scrolling through. I tried my hardest to move on. I remember I gave myself a nickname. I always called myself the Supreme. And there was only one person that knew that I called myself that. It was just a little nickname I gave myself a long time ago. Basically, when our father walked out on us, I had decided to become the head of our family because I'm my mom's oldest child. And so I had decided to be the head of my family and lead my pack. And so I watched a lot of American Horror Story, and, my favorite season is Coven. And, Ryan Murphy, he did an amazing job with that story. And they always had it as the leader of the pack was known as the Supreme, the leader of the Coven. And so one of the gifts that the Supreme had was to be able to go to hell and get out, come right back out. And so I remember the day before my birthday, Elijah blocked me again on everything. He had blocked me on Jacked. And I just felt so angry at him because it was the day before my birthday. And so At that time, he blocked me while I was at the Nelson Museum. I had nowhere to go. At that time, I had no friends, no other guy I was talking to. So I just took myself to the Nelson and tried to figure out, where I was going to go for my birthday. And I felt like I was in hell while I was with Elijah, even though some days I would, have this, I guess, rose-tinted view on things. Most of the time, it felt like pure hell to be with him. And I ran into the bathroom and I just started crying. And I really wanted to get away from him at this point. I really knew that it was over. And so I deleted my Jack'd and I deleted my Snapchat so that he couldn't unblock me and ask for sex again or ask to see if I was okay. Because that's what he would do. He would always do that. He would always do that. So I remember that night, I thought to myself, how cruel is that you blocked me the day before my birthday? At night, I couldn't find anybody to hang out with. Nobody really seemed interested. And most of the guys that talked to me, they only wanted sex. That's what most of them wanted. During the entire time that I was dating Elijah, on my Twitter, on everything, I would get these DMs from guys all the time. Some guys would offer to pay me $800, $2,000, $3,000 to sleep with me. And I would never even answer. I didn't want anybody but Elijah. I didn't want anybody but him. So I went down to the West Bottoms. The West Bottoms, there was a haunted house down there called the Edge of Hell. And so when I would go down there, it would be a reminder that I had the ability to go into hell and come right out. And so I went down there in the pitch black darkness and sat by some abandoned buildings just to be in the quiet and to cry because I didn't want my family to see me cry. The next day, I woke up and I took myself to Barnes & Noble to get me my favorite coffee, my iced caramel latte, and a muffin, which I guess was like my birthday cake. And I had no intention of seeing Elijah. I knew that he, wasn't too far by, but I mean, it was Barnes & Noble. In the 6 months that I dated Elijah, I had never ran into him anywhere. I had never seen him anywhere, So I thought I'll take myself out. That was better than sitting at home crying because I was alone on my birthday. And so when I came out of Barnes & Noble, I walked around to my favorite garden. There's a secret garden at the plaza that I've been going to since I was about 18. And I walked around and I said, okay, I'm going to go home now. I don't really have anything else to do. So as I came around the PF Chang's, the strangest thing happened. Elijah walked right past me. But he was with somebody else. He was with a friend, some guy, and they looked like they were having a really, really good time. He had taken precious, countless hours, days, months away from me. I had gotten suicidal because of all the abuse, all the drugs, all of the horrible things that he did during our relationship. And now on my birthday, while I was alone and had nobody, I saw him with someone else having a good time. And what's so sad is 2 weeks ago when I had asked him to hang out with me on my birthday, he told me he couldn't. He told me he was too busy to hang out with me on my birthday because he said he had to study and he had school. And here he was with this guy on my birthday having a great time, as if I didn't even matter. He wasn't even sad about it. He just looked at me and then he just kept going. Because it was only about him. It was always only about him. It wasn't about me. Screw me. It doesn't matter that it's my birthday. It doesn't matter. All that mattered was it was him. It was always about him. And so I thought that was like some sign, once again, being delusional. I thought it was some sign from the universe. Like, I never saw that guy. The entire time that we were dating, I never saw him in public. I was really ready to move on around that time. That was the first time ever that I really, truly wanted to move on. And now when I saw him, all of my feelings for him came rushing back to me. And so I kept walking and I started to cry and I went home and I just laid on the floor crying. Like, why did I have to see him on my birthday, dude? And having fun with somebody else. I mean, he was having a really good time. And so I remember thinking to myself, it's got to be some sign that I saw him. I mean, he blocked me. I deleted my Jack. I deleted my Snapchat so he wouldn't even find me. And we still ran into each other. I thought that was like some glorious sign. And so I texted him. I was walking the street late at night on my birthday, March 25th, because I was alone and I didn't want to go back home just yet. My family was back home and I just didn't want to be around them alone on my birthday and having them see me be sad like this. It was very embarrassing. And so as I walked, I texted Elijah. I said, I didn't mean to run into you, Elijah. I even deleted my Jack and Snapchat. I never wanted to bother you again. I just wanted to take myself out on my birthday. I care about you. Hit me up if you ever need me. Take care and don't stress. And I had no reason to apologize. I had the right to walk down the street, you know. I didn't go to his home, but he had made me feel like I was always a bother to him, despite him being my abuser. And so I apologized and made it seem like it was still all about him. I still made it seem like it was about him, even though he was clearly having a great time on my birthday, when he just told me 2 weeks ago that he was too busy to hang out with me on my birthday. And so he responded. I did not think that he would respond. I thought he was going to ignore me because he always ignored me. And so he said, "You're good, Jay. Thanks." And so I thought, oh my God, this is a sign. This has got to be a sign. And this is why we stay in our narcissistic relationships. Because we take all these signs, all these fake angel numbers, and I saw his birthday. I saw his car make. They're all lies. It's all a lie. You know, somebody told me, you know, they're going through this abusive relationship, this psychologically abusive relationship. And somebody said, oh, well, you know, he's their twin flame. I said, what? I said, he's not your twin flame. You shouldn't have to research, why is my twin flame doing this? Why is my twin flame not talking? If he was your twin flame, he'd be sitting right next to you, comforting you. He said, "You're good, Jay, thanks. This is on my birthday." I said, "No problem, man. And I'm free tonight if you want to hang with the birthday boy. If you have any alcohol, I'm trying to get wasted. I never drink, but I wanted to try some more of that bourbon you had. It's cool, though, if you don't want to. Have a good night." He didn't respond. The next text message is from April 4th, which was the last time that we talked. He didn't care about me. He didn't care about my birthday. It didn't matter. I never mattered to him, ever. And I still didn't get it. And some of y'all are not getting it. And that's why y'all staying. That's why y'all letting them do y'all like that. That's why y'all letting them abuse you, use you, and drag you, because you looking at the angel numbers. You looking at the fact that you saw their car. You saw their grandma at the store, and that was a sign. No, they are abusing you, and it's time to walk away today. I walked the streets at night after he had left me on read. I just kept hoping that he was going to say, okay, you can come on now. But he did not. So I walked to a house off of Paseo, a house that I always would walk to sometimes to remind me of how far I had come. I had been through a lot in my life. When I was 23 years old, I lost my home. I had nowhere to stay. And for that reason, I had to go stay at the City Union Mission. At the City Union Mission, it was hell. I was a baby, okay? And all these old, creepy, homeless guys lived in the same shelter as I did. It was a men's shelter. I remember one time I was going to the shelter, the men's shelter, because it was $1 a day to pay for your bed. So you had to pay $1 to get your bed, or you could work to get your bed. And so one day I came in, and I don't know if I was late or not. I don't know what it was, but normally I was on time to get my bed, because you have to stand in the line for everything at the shelter. You have to stand in the line to get your bed, you know. And I was just 23 years old, around all these guys, you know, and we were in this long line to get our beds. And so you'd have to give your $1 and get your ticket. And one day I went up there to get my bed, and they said, "We're all out of beds tonight. We have no more beds left." And I'm like, what am I going to do? You guys are out of beds? What is going on? Because, like, you know, I was like, so what are you guys going to do? They said, well, we don't have no more beds for tonight, but we have a little mattress that we can have you sleep on. So they put a mattress on the floor. And it wasn't upstairs. It was on the base where all the men sat in, like, there was like this large waiting area where there was a back door where you can go smoke at for the guys who wanted to smoke. And so they had me sleep on a little mattress on the floor, on the base of the shelter, right next to the door where everybody would walk through all night to go smoke. And I sat there on that mattress at just 23 years old, laying on the floor in the shelter because they had no beds for me. You know, it was tough, you know, to be in that shelter, you know, to go through those things. But I did it. I did it, man. It's something that I always think about. We all slept together in a large room full of bunk beds. I slept near criminals. I slept near strangers off the street who needed a place to stay. And I did it for about 3 to 4 months. We all showered together and we all ate together. My best friend at the time, Mon Cherie, we called her Moni, she found out that I was staying at the shelter, and she called me. And she said, "I want you to come stay at our house." And when Elijah ignored me on my birthday because he didn't want to hang out with me, that was the house that I went to, because that house was a reminder of a lot that I had survived. I knew that Moni's, you know, she was really tight with her brothers. And so I knew that she was going to have to ask her brothers, could I stay there, because it was their mom's house. And so I said, oh, I don't know. I said, I don't know, Moni. You know, I was really independent at that time, and I just was like, I don't want them to know, you know, that I'm homeless. What it was is Moni had an older brother named TJ, and I met him when I was 18. I met a lot of them when I was really young, but me and Moni had went to school together. And what she did not know, and what he did not know, is that I had the hugest crush on Moni's brother, TJ. I had the biggest from the first day I saw him. And he was straight, so there was nothing I could do with him. But I had the hugest crush on that boy. He was tall, just pretty skin, light skin, and nice, thin, you know, body for a guy that was in the military. And he had a real nice booty. He had a real fat booty for a guy. I remember thinking to myself, I don't want him to know I'm homeless, you know? So I said, no, Moni. I said, no, I'm not moving in with you guys. And she said, no, you're staying with us. And I'll never forget that. And when I came to the house, everybody there was so nice to me. And I was dealing with depression, you know, and I remember Moni's mom, Miss Melbra, she knew that I was struggling with being gay, and I was so depressed about being gay and just so sad about it. And she sat me on that porch one day, because my grandparents, you know, they would often say that I was going to go to hell for being gay. They would always say it, because they were a pastor and a first lady. And they would always say over the pulpit, you know, you're going to go to hell if you're gay. And I remember Miss Melbra, she sat me down on the front porch. And she grabbed my hand and she said, how did they know that? Nobody has the right to tell you that you're going to go to hell. And I just remember her sons being so nice to me. And that house helped me through a lot of struggles. And so, yes, oftentimes I would go back to that house and just look at it. And it would remind me of how far I came. You know, I survived homelessness. I survived homophobia. I survived everything that I had been through at just the age of 23. I could survive Elijah. I said, okay, come on back home, Jay. And my brothers and my sister, they were waiting there for me. They knew that I was alone on my birthday. They could tell I hadn't been anywhere. And so my brother, Justin, my partner in crime, he said, let's put on a show. And he played Bel Air for me. And I ordered my favorite food. I love Chinese food. But Justin, he put on the show for me. And I sat down and ate my Chinese food with my brothers and my sister beside me. And they sat with me all night on my birthday. And I thought to myself, I don't need Elijah. I don't need him. I don't need anybody. All I need is these people right here with me. And my mom. I don't need nobody but them. I don't need nobody but my brothers and my sister. I don't need nobody. They all I got. They all I have, you know. And they sat with me on my birthday. And I felt their love. I'm so grateful for my brothers and my sister. They're the greatest gift that I've ever received in my life. And it's not just because they spent time with me on my birthday. It's because I can depend on them for anything. I can depend on them for anything. You know, the same love that I gave my brothers and sisters, I gave Elijah. You know, I cooked meals for my brothers and sisters. My dad made me cook for everybody. And I cooked meals for my brothers and sisters. And I cooked meals for Elijah. I would bring him food while he was in bed. You know, he loved my eggs. I made scrambled eggs and sausage. I made fish. And he loved it, you know. And I thought to myself, you know, he was supposed to be a part of my family. And now he didn't even give a damn that it was my own birthday. He didn't even tell me happy birthday. It didn't matter. My birthday didn't matter.
yeah, baby. I said this house, it was built to last, and it's gonna last till my time is back. Play that thing, boy. Yeah. You know what to do with it. Yeah, I said this house, it was built to last, and it's gonna last till this time is past. This house was built. How did you think I was made? Did you think I would stay there? This house was built. Did you think you could? Oh, you think you could? Oh, you think you could? This house was built to last. Was built to last. Help me out. Y'all ready? Go ahead and take us home. I ain't going down. No, I'm going down. I was built up. I was built up. I was built this town. Now, when my grandfather would make me sing for him, he would say, "Go ahead, boy, sing, son." Yeah.
Now, this is the hardest part for me. I decided to wait till the end of this film to talk about my rape because I wanted people to understand why people sometimes stay with their abusers. And I wanted people to see all that I had been put through. But I wanted to wait till the end because I wanted people to see things through both of our eyes before I told my story about how I was raped by Elijah. This story is very humiliating, but if I don't tell my story, then how can I help those who have been raped by their partners? I know that I was raped on October 9th because that was the same night that I went to go and look at the Hunter moon. My last name is Hunter, and so I've always been fascinated with this phases of the moon. And so when I heard about the Hunter moon, I went out to go see it late at night. And I remember I was at my favorite creek that I always go to, and I had not heard from Elijah in about 4 days because he would do that. Like I said, he would not speak to me sometimes for days on end, but I had not heard from him. And this was just after we had done our first collab. I got home and he had texted me and asked me would I like to come and have sex. And I told him, I said, I would, but I really want to film. He seemed like he agreed, but he seemed like that was not really big on his agenda. His agenda was just getting me over there. And at that time, I did not know him that well. I did not know about the drugs, about the cocaine. I did not know any of that. All I knew is that it was getting really late, but I did miss him. I was deeply in love with him. And so I told him, I said, okay, I'll come over. And he came to the door and he did not seem disoriented. I just remember that when he came to the door at St. Regis, he was barefoot, which I thought was strange, but it wasn't strange enough, for me to question his behavior. We walked to his apartment, and when we went in, I noticed that when he took off his jacket, he had no shirt underneath, and it was cold outside. It was October, so personally, I thought that's a little strange that he doesn't have a shirt on, but maybe he was just resting or laying down. But he was barefoot and had on no shirt. I got into the apartment. The first thing I noticed is that there was a really nasty, musty smell. It just, the apartment, it just smelled really just sweaty and nasty. I just remember thinking to myself, it didn't smell like this the first time I came over here. The first time I came over here, it just, everything was, so nice and well put. And I remember just this rancid smell of must that was coming from his body. I sat down on the chair. He had an office chair in his room. And he said, I'm gonna go smoke. And I thought, okay, he's just gonna smoke his weed like last time. I did not know at that time that he was already on cocaine at that time. He went into his bathroom and he smoked weed for an extremely long time. Remember, we were having sex and I was trying to film, but I really didn't get much because he was acting strange. He was acting different than he normally acted last time. The sex did not feel passionate this time. It didn't feel passionate at all like it felt the first time. Well, the rape started when I started to tell him that we had to stop. Elijah started to act out of control. And I remember it was so dark. And I remember I kept saying, Elijah, we have to stop. We have to stop. I need water. I remember I told him, I said, we have to stop. We have to stop. I need water. And I'll never forget these words that he said to me. He looked at me and he said, we can get water when you're finished pounding me. And I thought to myself, how do you in your mind hear someone telling you stop? I need water. And how do you not have enough heart or enough soul to say, okay, let me stop and get him some water? I said, Elijah, I'm thirsty. I need water. I need water. I felt so hot. And I just remember my heart was beating so fast and he was scaring me. I just felt really scared. I said, Elijah, we have to stop. We have to stop. I need water. I need water. I don't know why, but I was worried for him. I was always concerned about him. I told him, I said, I need water. I said, Elijah, we have to stop. I need water. And I felt so powerless. I just remember I laid back and I wanted it to stop, and my penis was starting to hurt because it was getting really painful. And I remember I had a vein on the side of my penis that was starting to hurt really bad, and it was starting to blister. And it was like a cyst on the side of my penis. And I remember him forcing his body on me. I just wanted him to stop. I remember telling him, we have to stop. I'm done. It started to hurt. I'm done. I just know I wanted it to stop. All I remember from that night was him constantly bouncing up and down on me with his body. My penis was inside of him. He just was forcing himself on me really hard. I had laid back at this time, and I know I didn't want it. And my mom asked me, she said, why didn't you get up, Jay? Why didn't you get up and run? And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. I said multiple times, I need water. I'm ready to stop. And once I just laid back like a rag doll, he continued to thrust down on me. Just seeing him go up and down on me, it was like nothing was even in his mind. The only thing he thought about was pleasure. It was always about just pleasuring himself by anybody's expense. He used me as an object, and he did it our entire relationship, but that was the start of it. And I thought to myself, if I could just jack off really fast and ejaculate, then this would all stop. It'd be over. I would go down, my area would go down, and he wouldn't want sex anymore from me because he would see that I couldn't do it. I kept pushing him off of me when he was forcefully riding on me. I kept pushing him off of me. And I remember him asking me, when you do it, can you just stick it back in me? When you do ejaculate, just stick it back in me. And I did not want it. I did not want to do that. I wanted it to end because it was hurting. It was painful. I didn't know he was on cocaine. That's why he had to tell me. I thought he had mental issues. I thought somebody had laced his weed because he went in that bathroom and smoked weed for an extremely long time. So once I laid back, because I was so weak and I was so tired and hot, once I laid back, he continued to force his body up and down on me, even after I told him multiple times, we need to stop, Elijah. I need water. I'm hot. It was getting really, really, really late. I had already gotten over there kind of late when we started. I laid back and I thought to myself, if I can just go to sleep, because I knew no buses were running that late. I thought to myself, if I could just go to sleep, when I wake up, I'll just go home. And I just wanted to go to sleep really because I was really exhausted. It had to be about maybe 15 minutes that I slept. He always had porn on when we were having sex. He always had a laptop next to us that had porn always playing. I woke up and I felt the bed shake. This is about 10 minutes after I slept, after he had raped me. I felt the bed shaking. And I turned over. And when I turned over, Elijah was sticking his fingers into his anus really, really, really hard and really forcefully. And I felt so bad for him because I knew then that he was a sex addict, but I knew that something was wrong. I still did not know that it was the cocaine yet. He did not tell me that he was on cocaine the night that I got there. But I started to feel so bad for him because I knew that he had an issue. I knew it then. And he was ramming his fingers into himself, but it wasn't in a pleasing way. He was overdoing it. And he was looking at the porn. And I grabbed his arm and I said, Elijah, I said, you have to stop. And he said to me, I never forget these words because it creeped me out. He said, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. And he just kept saying it, and I grabbed him. I said, you have to stop, you have to stop. And so my mind was never focused on me being raped. My mind was always focused on him. Here in my art studio, which doubled as my living room, is where I spent many nights as I painted, dealing with the abuse and handling the abuse that Elijah caused me, even sometimes contemplating what happened during the rape and going over it over and over again. But I would like everybody to take a deep breath, as hearing about rape or talking about rape can be excruciatingly painful and traumatic for some people who have experienced rape or who may know someone who have experienced rape. For that reason, I want us all to take a deep breath before we go further. Breathe in, breathe out. It took a long time for me to come to the terms of my rape. You see, sometimes we try to defend our abusers. There are plenty of times where I would try to make the rape seem like it wasn't a big deal or play it off because I didn't want to recognize within myself that I was with someone who had raped me or who was capable of taking advantage of my body again. I had begged Elijah to get me water and telling him that I wanted to stop. The sex continued on, even after I was verbal and clear that I wasn't enjoying it, I wanted to stop. I was very dehydrated at that time. And my therapist told me that my body just gave up. And I still had this push and pull with the situation until I saw this video.
Or why didn't I fight back? Or why didn't I resist? And when 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys have been sexually assaulted, but the vast majority of them did nothing in the moment, they froze up. We as a society have to understand the freeze response if we're going to understand sexual assault. 1 in 4 of your Facebook friends has been sexually assaulted. Please share this video, as one of them may need to hear this to forgive themselves. You may think of freezing up as just inaction, but it is much, much deeper than that. These are instincts that are deeply hardwired into our brain's survival center. We've been taught that we need to say no, to resist, to escape. But so often, victims feel paralyzed to do so. One survivor said, we're told that we need to respect ourselves enough to fight back. But that was the mystery to me. I did respect myself, but I could never bring myself to literally say the word no or fight back. My voice always just seemed to shrink away as my body went limp.
You see, freezing is a term where your mind likes to go to a secret place where it can ignore what is happening. I was terrified that night. I did not know about the cocaine addiction. I did not know that he was on cocaine. All I remember is that I was looking up at him as he was forcefully on me. And like I said, it was painful and I was terrified. He kept making these faces like a wild animal. He kept making these weird faces, and I was scared, and I was looking at him like, I'm clearly not enjoying this. I've told you several times I need water. You know, this has been my second time only being in his home, and so I wanted him to get up and go get the water from his kitchen because I told him I was thirsty, and I even kind of begged. I said, please, can you get some water? I'm thirsty. And yet the sex continued on, even to the point to where he was telling me what to do as he was forcing himself on me. I told my therapist, I remember as he had the porn playing on the side of the bed, he kept saying, look at the screen. And this is during sex. He kept saying, look at the screen, look at the screen, look at the screen. And I'm looking at him like, what are you saying? And I looked over at the screen. And when I looked over at the screen, Elijah looked down at me and said, that's us, that's us. And even that scared me. And so my mind, I did freeze and I did go to a secret place. Felt like if I just shut down and just no longer put up a fight anymore, maybe eventually this will all go away. I told my therapist, I felt like once he had taken what he wanted from me, maybe he would give up. And the reason why I said it is because the sex, even though it became really painful, it went on for hours. And I was so dehydrated and so worn out that my body just gave up, which is something that me and my therapist talked together with and just went over that. Because as a man, it is very hard to process. If you look at the text messages, you can clearly see that the night after I was raped, Elijah asked me about the rape. He said, it's not a problem. And the reason why is because he had found some items for me that I needed from his home. And he told me he could take it to me. I told him that was sweet of him. And he said, it's not a problem. And then he said, are you okay from being here? You looked. And the reason why he said you looked is because he told me over the phone that while he was doing it, he said he felt like himself was looking at him through me because of how strenuous he was doing it while he was raping me. And that's why he says, are you okay from being here? You looked. Because he knew that he had raped me. And he felt the deep guilt in how he had used me like a rag doll, like I was a sex doll or a puppet for his pleasure. He knew it. So he asked me about it. I tried to play it off. I tried to act like it wasn't a big deal because I was taking the rape and I was pushing it back. I didn't want to think about it. No. And that's why I played it off. I said, I'm okay, LOL. Just needed some sleep. I fell out as soon as I got home. Thanks for asking. I was so exhausted and so tired from the night of the sex went on for hours, even after I no longer wanted it, even after I said stop multiple times. This is the text message that I showed the police. He says, okay, cool. Want to make sure I didn't freak out or rape you or something. Good, you got some rest. I didn't say anything. Once he mentioned the rape, I was like, he wants to talk about it because I did not want to talk about it with him or with anyone. I wanted to ignore it and just push it back. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to ignore it. Once I would not respond, once he mentioned the rape, he said, can you talk? And I said, okay. And the reason why he wanted to talk is because he wanted to talk to me about the rape over the phone. Elijah had a good way of keeping all the abuse, all the horrible things he said and did to me, all the drugs. He had a good way of keeping it only on Snapchat or Jacked so that at any time those messages would delete themselves or he could delete them. Or he knew that Snapchat deleted messages, but he also knew that on Jacked, if he would block me randomly, all of those messages would be out of my hands. I wouldn't have access to them. And so he asked to talk because he wanted to further talk about the rape, but he only wanted to do it over the phone. One thing I will say is I was never going to tell anybody that I was raped by Elijah. I never wanted anyone to know. This is a humiliating, embarrassing story. And the reason why I'm doing this documentary film is actually because of someone who I am protecting. I am protecting 2 of Elijah's victims. I don't know the other ones, but I know 2 of the people that Elijah victimized and threatened. And what happened is during my time at work, after about a month after not speaking with Elijah, it might have been towards the end of April, I want to say, I had actually contacted a guy through a dating app who I had only spoke to once, I think 3 months ago. But I contacted him and I asked him, would he like to be a model at my nude art show? After Elijah had broke up with me, I really picked myself back up. I decided that I was going to get back to doing my art shows. And at my art shows, I show off my paintings and I allow nude models to walk around and collect tips. I contacted this young man who was 21 years old when I contacted him. And I said, hey, would you like to be a model at my new art show? Because nobody else really wanted to do it. Everybody was so scared. And he said yes. He said, oh, yeah. What I did not know is that he already knew who I was. And that was for a very specific reason. And he said, my friend is over here cooking. Would you like to come over to talk more? So I came. When I came over there, his apartment was beautiful. And I remember his friend was cooking for us and making just some real good soul food. Later on in that night, we were all talking. And I said, you know, I can't really date anyone. I recently broke up with my boyfriend, Elijah. And when I said that, both of them said, oh, no, Elijah, oh. And I was kind of expecting that because a lot of people, in my opinion, a lot of people around the city he has slept with. They said, oh, Elijah, oh my God. Oh, I had to block him. Oh, I had to. And I said, well, what are you guys talking about? I said, you know, what happened? And one of the guys, I would not say his name, but he said, oh, Elijah would threaten me. He would say we did. He had to sleep with me, and I told him no. He said, you know, I'll pull up on you. I'll beat your ass. And I said, what? I said, I'm sorry about that. And I said, I'm sorry you were treated that way. I didn't know what I would be told later that day. And both of them, they just continued to talk to me about him and that he constantly asked for sex all the time. And both of these boys were 21 years old. And that, you know, makes them adults. But the point is they were young members of the LGBT community. The one who wanted to date me. I remember he actually asked me to come over his home again. And I said, okay, I'll come. I said, but I'm not really looking to date right now, but I'll come, you know, and we can even paint together, you know, just hang out. I remember I went over there and we started to talk about Elijah again because he had come on to me and asked me would I date. I said, I really don't feel like dating. I don't feel comfortable dating just yet. And I will not say his name because I am protecting him. And I promised him that he would never have to talk about this ever again. But I'm telling his story. You see, my friend had been sleeping with Elijah since Elijah had first came down here. And he told me things about Elijah that I didn't even know. He told me that he gave Elijah a ride to his dorm. And that's how I knew that he really, really knew Elijah, because when I met Elijah, he was already staying in St. Regis. I believe he had recently moved in when I met him in September into St. Regis. But Elijah had told me that he had came down around May. But my friend told me that Elijah was very inconsistent, you know, the same thing, and that he would text him off and on. And he said, you know, I know how it feels, Jay, to not have a car because I used to ride the bus and I used to live on campus and I hated it. He told me he hated it. So when he told me that he saw him on the bus stop, I said, okay. And I said, and where'd you take him? He said, I take him to his dorm. He said when he pulled up, Elijah asked him, would he come in to his dorm? And he said when he came in, immediately Elijah asked to sleep with him. And I said, yeah. I said, he used me the entire relationship. That's what he does. I apologized for the way Elijah treated him. I left his home and I went to work a few days later. And we were talking on Twitter, me and my friend. And I'm going to actually show those Twitter messages. I'm going to pull those up as well to show them. I will not show his name or his number. We talked on Twitter. I will not show his name. I will only show what he sent me. And you can see the timestamps are there as well for authenticity. This was on Twitter messaging that we were talking. He told me, he said, Elijah, you know, he said, he used the word, you know, nigga, but he said, the nigga already told me everything about you. And I said, what do you mean? He said, Jay, Elijah told me that you two were a couple. He said he came over high on cocaine and he pulled out his phone and he said, do you know Jay? And he showed my friend a picture of me. My friend told me that Elijah came over high on coke and that he sat on his couch and he said, do you know Jay? And my friend said that he looked at my picture and he said that Elijah told him, me and Jay are together. And so by the time he's telling me this, I'm already starting to feel uncomfortable because I'm like, you told someone that we were together? Elijah always tried to hide me, but I don't know what would make him say that, but he told him about us, that we were a couple. My friend said as soon as Elijah told him that we were together, Elijah then said that he wanted to sleep with him and have sex with him right after. This is when it got serious, and this is when I knew that I had to tell my story. And I was at work, by the way. He asked to call me. My friend said, can you just call me? He said, you're not even letting me get any words out. He called me. And I said, what happened? He told me that when he told Elijah that he did not want to sleep with him, that Elijah started to act really crazy. And I said, what do you mean? And this is over the phone. I said, what do you mean? He said, Jake, he started threatening me because I would not sleep with him. And I said, what do you mean? He said he started threatening me. He said he was going to hurt me if I did not sleep with him. And this is a guy who is 21 years old. Me and Elijah are both 27 as of right now. But he said, Jay, he started acting really crazy. And he started acting really angry because I would not sleep with him. And he said he started to threaten me. And when he said that, I started to remember my rape. And I started to remember how I was being treated when he said that to me. And I said, are you serious? I said, I'm so sorry. I said, how did he leave? He said he would not leave until I pulled out my gun. And I told my friend, I said, I believe he's a rapist. A, because I know that he'd already raped me. And B, because his friend had told me that he had threatened him. And now I had someone telling me over the phone that my ex-boyfriend threatened to harm them in their own home if they would not sleep with him. That is when I knew I had to come forward and tell my story. I remember telling him, I said, I think that he's targeting young gay men around the city. My first thought was go to the police. And so on May 23rd, I did go to the police and I did show them the text messages. At my job, I called him again, probably about a month later, just to have him recant his story to me, my friend. And he told me that Elijah had gave him a fake name and told him that his name was Michael. And that is when I got really scared because I said, you were targeted. I said, Elijah gave you that fake name because he knew that he had had a history of doing this to other boys and he didn't want to get caught up. He said, I did not know his name was Elijah until you came over my home and told me his name was Elijah. I already knew who you were because Elijah talked about you. He said, but I thought his name was Michael. But his name is not Michael. His name is Elijah Rashad Thomas. And I'm not afraid to say his name. I was raped on October 9th by my ex-boyfriend, Elijah Rashad Thomas. I was raped in his own home on the first floor in his apartment. And I am not afraid to say his name. I gave this man 6 months of my life after the rape. I tried to help him get off of drugs. I tried to help him with his multiple STDs, with his sexual habits, his sex addiction. And all he did the entire relationship was break me down, humiliate me, use me, and abuse me. I like to think of myself as not just a victim of his abuse, but also a survivor.
To be happy, I deserve to be loved. And if you won't love me, then I'll find somebody who's good enough. If you walk away, you only open the door to someone who's out there that can give me so much more. I need love. I need love. Everybody's saying, and all I need for me and my family is love. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Love does a body good. Oh baby, baby. It's all I need, and that's all I need for me and my baby is love. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Love does a body good. Say love, love does a body good. It's purer than gold, yeah, 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 yeah. I get drunk off the wine, but it brings to my soul. I got the spirit, y'all better say it. I can't let it go. Down for a minute and help pick somebody else up. We could save a life. We could save a life, baby, baby, baby. You see, somebody's got a son and he walks the streets at night and he's really tired of fighting 'cause the world has hurt him too many times. 'Cause they just wanna use him and they just wanna abuse him, yeah. And somebody's got a daughter and she's planning suicide. She's got a plan to take her life 'cause she don't think nobody love her now. Why don't you let her know that she's worth more than gold, yeah. I bet you thought you had another in the bag. You thought you had a guy you could just freak on that night. You didn't know who I was. I pray that you forgive me for not telling you soon enough. They take your body, they use your body, they sex your body, and leave you lonely and think it's funny while you hurting, yeah. But you won't get me, not this time. You a devil in disguise, but I see through all your lies. No, you won't raise my kids. I don't want no marriage. I know you think I did, but now I don't want shit. 'Cause I got love protecting me, baby. Love all over me, babe. All I need is love, 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 love. All I need is love, love, love.
I want to say that there's someone watching this right now who is continuing to sleep with their rapist. There are so many ways to go about reporting your rape, whether it's getting a confession from your rapist first, going to the police, having a friend come with you, talking to a family member first. But what I will say is have the courage, be brave, and know that there are people out there that do care for you. It is a sickness in the mind to believe that you have the right to sleep with someone even after they have told you multiple times that they do not. We do not have the right to threaten people when they tell us that they do not want to sleep with us. Okay, so I was talking with my therapist during one of our sessions, and she told me to imagine that Elijah was standing in front of me, and what would I say to him if he was standing in front of me? And so I thought that I would do that exercise on camera so that you all could see, or so that his family could see, or that he could see. You know, honestly, I don't believe that Elijah would care about this documentary or anything that I had to say. I don't think he would care at all, but if he ever did, he could get a chance to see what I would say to him if he was in front of me, because I don't think I'd ever have that chance again. So this is what I would say if he was in front of me. I want you to understand something. There will probably never come a day where you are not on my mind. But there will also never come a day when I don't remember just how horrible you treated me and how horrible you made me feel. You made me feel like I was worthless to you. And even after all that I'd done, even after the interventions that I had for you, even after I came through for you, even though I came by at night to cook for you, I tucked you in the bed, I kissed you goodnight, I did nothing but be sweet and kind to you. One of your last words to me on April 4th was, if I'm honest, I want nothing to do with you. That's how you talk to me. After all the love that I gave you. You destroyed countless lives. You didn't just hurt me, but you destroyed countless men before me and after me, who some of them came to me and told me how you did them. And it broke my heart in pieces because I wanted to marry you. I wanted to give you everything I had. I had a little box saved in my drawer, a little ring box that I was going to pop the question to you if we made it past more than 6 months. Because I saw the value in you. And then people tell me that you ask them for sex and then you threaten them if they say no, or if they turn you down. You never had to threaten nobody for sex. You're not supposed to force people, and you don't threaten anyone. People have the right to say no. And you shouldn't have to threaten anybody for sex anyway, or get upset, or have your self-esteem be so low because you're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're so attractive. You're so smart. You're a genius. I mean, you had an 8-year degree in college. I mean, you're intelligent, just beautiful body, beautiful face, pretty eyes, beautiful charisma, just all this in you. And yet you go so low to where you have to have people make you feel like you matter. And you never made me feel like I mattered, ever. I never felt like I mattered to you. You made me feel like I was worthless. Elijah, you made me feel like I was a waste of space. And one of the hardest things ever was that when I would get on that jacked at night, crying my eyes out, just trying to see if you was okay. And at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, I would see your little map move to go to different guys' houses, knowing that you canceled every date that I set up for you, that you agreed to come to. Every single night, at any time of the night, I would see your icon move and see you going all around the city to sleep with these random guys who didn't give you anything that I gave you. And yet I asked for the simple things. I asked for scraps. And you didn't even think I was worthy of those scraps from you. Yet you still asked me to stay around and stick around so you can continue to use me. And you know what's so embarrassing? When I talk to my therapist and I tell her all the sweet things that you used to do for me, she tells me that you were just pretending to love me so that you can use me. I gotta sit there in my therapy session and know and hear somebody tell me that all the things that you did that make me smile, that I still laugh at to this day when I'm cooking or something. I still think about some of the sweet things you did. I gotta have my therapist sit and tell me to my face that you only did those things because you were pretending to love me so that you could use me. I don't know how long it's gonna take for me to get over that because I believe those moments. I believe that those moments were real. Nowadays, I don't even know if I can be with anybody else because when I look at a guy, all I wonder is if he gonna do me like you did me. And then I think about all the men that you hurt. And then they told me, somebody called me and said, Jay, Elijah has slept with all of my friends. I hope you know that. And so I didn't even go to Gay Pride this year because I have a fear that when I go places, that everybody there you slept with. When I go to a gym, I have to wonder, has everybody here been with my ex-boyfriend? Because you told him that we were together. And he told everybody. He told everybody. And so now as a performer, as an artist, when I go to a gay event or a gay show, I got to look over my shoulder and wonder, how many people here has he slept with? I don't even want to date anybody from the city because I have a fear that most of the men from the city have either been with you or done drugs with you, either one. It's going to take a long time for me to heal from what you did to me. I was born here in Kansas City. This is my city. This is my home. And after I called a sexual assault hotline and spoke to them, I knew that I had a duty to protect my city from someone, even if it was someone that I loved. You see, after Elijah blocked me on Jack, eventually I did make a new Jacked account. But this time I was smart enough to block him first. But what I did was I needed proof that Elijah was changing his name and age on his dating profile. After I spoke with a sexual assault hotline, I told them what he had done to me, and then I told them that he had changed his age from 27 to 32 on his Jacked profile. And I asked him, I said, why would somebody do that? Most gay men on Jacked lie and change their age to a younger age so that they appear cooler or more attractive. But I told her, I said, why would a 27-year-old male have to change his age to 32? It was because he wanted to get more victims that way easier. But I also believe that it was his way to escape some of his victims and to stop from being tracked so easily. You see, people that got on Jacked, they wouldn't find a 27-year-old guy's profile. They find a 32-year-old guy's profile with a new name. And so it would be harder for the people that he victimized to track him down. But what I want you guys to understand is I knew that Elijah had a Grindr premium account, which came with premium options. But then I had to discover later on that he had a Jacked premium account as well. I know this because one time we were in bed together, he was looking on Grindr. It took me a while to figure it out, but I came to the conclusion that Elijah paid for Jacked premium. But later on, after Elijah and I had ended our relationship and he told me that he no longer wanted to move forward with me and that he was done with me, about a month later, I would check his Jacked profile and I used the screenshots as proof that he had changed his age. But one thing that I want to make clear is that Elijah had Jacked premium, which gave him the option to be in this incognito mode to where people would not know that he was checking out their profiles. So if Elijah clicked on your square, you would not receive a notification that he had looked at you or checked you out. It allowed him to go ghost mode. But Jacked also allowed Elijah to have his own preference of sexual positions. And so instead of having an entire plethora of verse men or bottoms or tops, Elijah's Jacked profile, premium profile, allowed him to only have all tops on his Jacked grid so that he could have an unlimited selection of only the tops in Kansas City for his choosing. This is what a predator does. They prey on the weak, the naive, the innocent. And it is my duty to protect my city, my LGBT community, from a predator who sexually exploits people, threatens people if they do not sleep with him. I looked at the police officer and I told her, I said, he's very smart. And she looked at me, she said, She said, don't let that discourage you. Don't let that stop you. I told the police officer in May that I believe that he was preying on men around the city. But what I also believe is that he had done it in other cities as well. You see, Elijah, in my opinion, I believe that he used his architectural firm to allow him to have a visa to travel from city to city. And the reason why I know this is because he wanted his firm to move him to Dallas. And I believe that the firm wanted him to stay on base in Kansas City, which is something that he did not want to do because he had already been here for a year. And because of that, Elijah wanted to go to a different city now. He had already been in New York because of his architectural firm. And he told me that he wanted to go to Dallas. I believe that Elijah used his architectural firm to allow him to travel freely or on their dime or on some kind of split expense, making it easier for him to travel around and find broader cities where he could prey on unbeknown men. Although Elijah will block me and discard me or ignore me or break up with me sometimes I did find the courage to break off things with him. But I would fold eventually because I loved him so much, and I would ask him to forgive me even when I wasn't wrong. But on March 8th, and I know that date is important for a very specific reason, I talked with Elijah and asked him, would he hang out with me on my birthday? I told him that I didn't have any plans, and he looked at me and said, because you don't have any friends. And that hurt me, but I was used to being hurt by Elijah, so I was kind of taking it with ease, even though I was bleeding on the inside. On that same day, I told Elijah that we could not sleep together anymore if he did not respect me. And I knew that our relationship was coming to an end. We ended up seeing each other after that, but I knew at that very moment that yes, my relationship was coming to an end. I was broken. I was heartbroken because I had tried so hard to make this work with someone who was obviously using me and abusing me. And I was starting to realize it. But however, the heart wants what the heart wants. And I could not stop my feelings for him at that moment. They were still very, very strong for him because I really did truly love him. And so I gave him a big hug. I made him give me a hug. And that was on the same day that I had brought him some flowers, even though they were fake. He laughed at my flowers and called them ghetto. But I told him that my flowers are beautiful. On that same day, on March 8th, I remember kind of crying because I was so sad that I knew that me and Elijah were really ending things. And he looked at me and laughed and said that the way that I was breathing was funny. I wanted it to be known that even though we did break up on this day, we still saw each other after this. But that was a part of his game, discarding me and then having access to me because I loved him, and he took advantage of that. On March 8th, I had known that it was over. Well, in my mind, I thought that it was over. I really did at that time. I walked out of Elijah's apartment and I went home. I made me a Jacked account, not because I wanted sex or anything, but because everybody kept telling me to leave Elijah. My family kept saying I should leave him. And so I got on Jacked just hoping that I could just find someone to just either have fun with or take me out. I was still madly in love with Elijah, but I was heartbroken. When I got on that Jacked app, that same very night, I decided to not have my profile picture used because I wanted to hide my identity, because I didn't want Elijah to know that I was on that app, because I didn't want to feel desperate, or look desperate, I should say. So I hid my face and I used another picture instead of my face. I did not block Elijah because I had feelings for him, and something in me just wouldn't let me block him. But on that same very night, Elijah texted me and tried to hook up with me, not knowing that that account was mine. I was humiliated and I was broken, and it hurt me because I didn't want to move on from him. I had no choice. But when he texted me, he didn't know it was me. I didn't block him for some strange reason, but I did not respond either because I didn't want to give off that it was me. I thought to myself, was I really that replaceable that that same night he would just text any account and ask for sex? The next day, after I ignored Elijah, he texted that same account again, not knowing that it was me, because Elijah cannot handle rejection. And so this time he sent pictures of himself to me on that Jacked app, not knowing that that account was mine. And that is when I chose to block him. Months later, I would use that same Jacked app to track Elijah so that I could have proof to authorities that he was changing his age on the Jacked app. And so I could have proof that he was on the app at all. Because I knew that once I would come forward and release this documentary, Elijah would delete his Jacked and his Grindr. And so I needed proof. One thing I will say is that 2 nights before Elijah raped me on October 9th, 2022, I was walking and I texted Elijah because I hadn't heard from him in a long time. And we talked, and I texted Elijah and I asked him, I said, we could just hang out. We don't have to have sex. We could just hang out if you want to, because I really did want a friend. And Elijah ignored me. He didn't say anything to me. And so 2 days later, he called me over really, really late at night on the night that he raped me. And I believe that he wanted to see what sex felt like on cocaine. And so I believe that he invited me over without telling me that he was high on cocaine, and then lied to me and told me that he would be okay with filming adult entertainment, which he really wasn't. And on that same night, he raped me on October 9th, 2022, while he was high on cocaine. All I wanted was friendship and a companion. But instead I got used, abused, raped, discarded. And after it was all over, Elijah texted me on April 4th. And he told me, if I'm honest, I want nothing to do with you. Yeah, so it's kind of embarrassing and it's kind of sad, but I just hope that my story will help people to walk away from their abuser and understand that there's nothing you can do to change someone. People, if you show them kindness after they hurt you and abuse you, they will just use it against you.
Rest in peace to Michael Jackson. Yes, I can bring them back to life, but the world would just hurt them again. They only love you when you're dead. Rest in peace to George Michael and all the gay men that left their print on my beautiful black soul. This world treats us so cold. Rest in peace to Bob Marley. I'm sorry you weren't black enough for your people. All you did was spread love and treated people equal. Man, I swear everybody in the game is evil. We just wanna be loved. All you gotta do is love. Y'all not tearing us down. We winning this time around. The first time you broke my heart, I stayed up all night long playing my George Michael. He came to me, he sang to me, told me the only way to get up was to get down. I lost my frown and found my crown. I lost my frown and found my crown. And just like Michael, I sang and I danced all night long. I'm killing all my demons tonight, yeah, yeah. I'm killing all my demons tonight, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whether it's a job or a marriage, if it hurts your soul, then you can't bear it. If it hurts your soul, you gotta let it go. If it hurts your soul, you gotta let it go. I am letting go. You can't hurt me no more. I am letting go. You can't hurt me no more. I am letting go. You can't hurt me no more. I am letting go. You can't hurt me no more. You can say I'm mean cause I won't proceed, but I'm never, no, never letting you hurt me. You can say I'm wrong cause I'm letting go, but I'm never, no, never letting you take my soul. Letting go. You can't hurt me no more. I am letting go. You can't hurt me no more. I am letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. Understood. When I thought I had a friend, you told me that I was wrong. I never knew I knew so many, but you left me alone. You know you did me wrong. 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 But that's alright. But that's alright. That's alright. That's alright. But that's alright, yeah. That's alright, yeah, yeah,
Elijah did not like that I did adult entertainment, and so I stopped doing it for him. I was willing to give up anything for him. I didn't sleep with anybody on camera, But I did show my body and images of my body naked online, which is something that he knew before he dated me. But once he expressed to me that he no longer wanted me to do it, I stopped doing it for him. But one thing that must be said is that Elijah looked down on people who show their body online. This is something that oftentimes a lot of people from the gay community do when they have high paying jobs, or when they come from good colleges, or when they live a better life than most gay people. What they do is they look down on gay people who show their bodies online, or who come from a background of sex work, or who parlay and dance at the balls. People like Elijah, they have these corporate jobs and they have these high class lives, and they look down on gay people who don't have these lifestyles, and they judge them. But not one time did I judge Elijah for his drug addiction, or for his high count of sexual partners, or for his STDs. You see, I tried to help him in so many ways, and I never once tried to use his own pain against him. But one night, as I sat on Elijah's bed, he told me that he looked down on people who show their bodies online, especially gay people. He told me to my face, he said, when I see them online naked, I don't think it's right that they do that, so I block them. And this is something that people from the gay community who live in a higher tax bracket, or who have money, or who have a high paying job or degree, this is what they do. They oftentimes think that they are better than us, gay people who are adult entertainers, or who are nude models or underwear models. But nobody is better than anybody. And see, no matter how much Elijah spread his STDs in the gay community, or no matter how many times he slept with multiple people, while he was in his relationships, or no matter how many times he did drugs, he never thought that he was on the same level as the gay people who showed their bodies, or who worked as adult entertainers. But one thing we have to understand is that we can no longer look down on each other in the gay community for our differences. We have to understand that we must come together to fight the common enemies. And those common enemies are rape, sexual assault, STDs, and drugs. These are the things that destroy the LGBT community from the inside out while we're facing homophobia. These are the real things that we should be looking down upon. These are the things that Elijah exuded to me in our relationship. And during our relationship, Elijah enjoyed lots of porn and wanted it played while we were intimate, which I didn't have a problem with that. But one thing that should be said is, you cannot be against porn if you watch porn. You cannot be against adult entertainers showing their body online if you watch and endorse us, because you are literally the main driving force that are keeping us fed and keeping us going. Sex workers and adult entertainers that do legal adult entertainment are supported by the people who look down on them when they go home at night and turn on that laptop and turn on their phones and willingly watch the content that they claim that they are against. I am the mouthpiece. I am the fighter for the sexually abused, the sexually molested, the raped, and the sexually harassed.
I'll stand outside. This woman's work, this woman's work. Oh, it's hard on every man. Now this part is over. Now stars look around on the fire. I know you got a little life in you, yes. I know you got a lot of strength left. I know you got
I'm out here at night. I take walks at night just to deal with the anxiety and deal with everything. As of now, we are almost done filming. I've been doing choreography practices just about every day. My feet hurt, my back hurts. I'm anxious. The documentary is about to come out in probably about a few weeks, and I'm just really, really nervous. I've spent my entire life performing
I've been singing professionally since I was 13. I did musical theater when I was in school. From that moment on, it was making costumes and wearing costumes. And then at 24, I started doing adult entertainment. And I've been wearing costumes and putting on these masks and going on stage for so long. But I'm bearing the real me. I'm bearing my real soul in this documentary. And, you know, one thing that I want to say is that if you could understand why I stayed, you know, Elijah, you know, he did not just hurt me. He tortured me. He tortured me. He took his time. He tortured me while I was with him for 6 months. You know, he used to, when we were in bed together, he used to grab my leg and wrap it around his, grab my arm and wrap it around his, and go to sleep on my chest. Like he could not lay down without having me, without being all on me. And I thought, how does somebody go from being like that to the next day they treat you like you're a complete stranger? They don't call you, they don't text you, they talk to you like you're the worst human being ever. And so while I was trying to take care of him, he was doing everything he could to make me feel like I was a worthless piece of shit. That's how he made me feel during our relationship. And so when it comes to the rape, Elijah knows that he did it. He knows. He know he did it. That's why he texted me the next day and asked, you know, are you okay from being here? Like, because he knew that he had done it. After I started to slowly realize everything that he had done to me, you know, there were some things that I did not know that he did to me that were abusive. I did not know, you know, my therapist had to help me understand based on the stories that I told her. But, you know, once I came to the realization of just how severe that my trauma and that the rape was, I started to realize that he never really cared about me or my body or my well-being ever. You know.
Okay, so the rape happened on October 9th, and he texted me, and you'll see that the text messages are from October 10th. And then this is the actual syphilis test that I had to get once he called me. And of course, I don't have syphilis, so I was negative for it. I don't have it. However, I could have gotten it. I don't know who the other guys are that Elijah called and told them that they had to get tested. I don't know their names. I don't know their faces. However, I do know that this is dated October 20th when I had to go get it. Now, the rape happened on October 9th. He texted me about it on October 10th, and I had those text messages with the dates. But this is the actual test here that I had to go get. I hope that this information, I wanted people to see why I had to come forward. You know, I didn't want to come forward at the beginning about my story about being raped. I didn't want to come forward with that because I know how hard people are on victims when they come out and speak about rape. However, you know, once Elijah was done with me, I wanted to move on. I wanted to prove to him that I was over him. So I tried to go out and have fun and do my own thing. And then slowly, guys would start to tell me about him, but it was kind of like I couldn't escape him. This one guy named Marquand, I thought that he was texting me because he was flirting with me. I thought that he really, really wanted to like get to know me. And he told me, he said, I know one of your exes. And I said, okay, I've only been with 2 men. I've only been in a relationship with 2 men. So I think I know which one you're talking about. And he said, you know, and you'll see, I'm going to put it up on the screen. You'll see where it's kind of like he was taunting me. And so this is about maybe like 2 months after me and Elijah had finally like split for real this time. And so I couldn't even like go out and live my own life because guys were starting to tell me about Elijah because either A, he had told them about me, or the guy that he had been with after me had told everybody. But I don't know which one it was. All I know is, you know, I mean, you can see that he's saying, you know, oh, I know your ex's name. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about him. And then he goes, does his name start with an E? And so this is what I faced after I left Elijah. This is why it was hard for me to date, because when I would try to get with a guy or talk to a guy, I didn't know for sure if he knew Elijah or not. And so it was really hard for me to date and even be with anybody because I was afraid that they were somehow connected to him.
connected to him because of how many men that he had been with in my city, and also he frequented the St. Louis area because that's where a lot of his family is from, St. Louis. And so, anytime I would go anywhere, I always had this fear of, do people know him? Do they know him? If you see these text messages from Marquand, I thought Marquand was flirting with me to get to know me. He really was just trying to get more information about my ex, I guess, because somehow he was either telling people about me or people somehow just people knew. But, it was really hard to come forward about this. But, this has been a traumatic experience for me that I'm just thankful that I survived. I want y'all to see this, and I don't mind y'all seeing these text messages. I want y'all to know how hard I fought for him. I want y'all to know. I mean, a lot of these text messages, they are extremely embarrassing, but I'm willing to share this. But I want y'all to know, this is how you get treated when you forgive somebody who has hurt you and who has abused you and has used you. This is how you end up getting talked to at the end of it, after everything's over. This is how they do you when they can't use you no more. Look at this. This is the last time we talk, on April 4th. Look at this. Look how he talking to me. This is how he talked to me. This is what happens when you forgive. Look. You're crazy. You should seek help. This is how you talk to me. This is somebody who I did a drug intervention for. This is how I was talked to at the end of it. After it was all said and done. After he used me, after he abused me, this is how I was talked to. This is how I was talked to. And I don't mind. I don't mind people seeing these text messages. I want y'all to see something right here. This is very important. Look at this right here. I said, I wanted to show you that you got someone here for you, bro. No matter what, you always matter to me. He said, okay, thanks, LOL. Can you leave me alone now? What do you want? He had already used me up. He had already taken advantage of me. For 6 months, he had used me, so I didn't matter no more. This is what you get when you try to forgive somebody that raped you. This is what you get when you try to forgive somebody who abused you and used you. This is how you get treated. This is how you get talked to. This is why you should walk away the first time. This is why you shouldn't try to see the good in everybody. This is why you should always protect yourself first, because this is how you get talked to. If you scroll up, past all the lies, all the times that I did actually get him to text me, all the times that I did, you'll see he gave me his Snapchat. That's my Snapchat right there. And if you see October 10th, you'll see right there, I got his Snapchat. I gave him that was my old Snapchat. And then you'll see right here, he gave me his Snapchat. And if you scroll up, when I actually got him to actually text me, you'll see that October 10th. So the rape happened on October 9th. And on October 10th is when I went home. I didn't come to the terms yet of the rape. I still was processing it. We hadn't even talked about it yet. And as you can see, I had lost my phone. And so I used his phone to call my phone. That's how I got his number. But as you can see, on October 10th is the first iMessage that we actually received. And if you scroll down, you'll see eventually that he asked me about it. I went down too far. Hold on. Because he found my little stuff. He found my Vaseline. If you go down, you'll see that's where he asked. Right there, to talk about it. This is what happens when you forgive the person who raped you. When you try to see the good in them. When you try to understand that maybe they're not as bad as they may seem. Maybe he made a mistake. Maybe he can change. Maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe it was just the drugs. Maybe it was, I tried everything I could. This is what happens when you don't walk away the first time. After they use you and discard you, after they have already played with you and used you for everything until there's nothing left inside of you, this is how they treat you at the end. They say things to you like what he said to me on April 4th, how he talked to me. After all the games, after all the manipulation, after all the lies, after I try, look at me, look how hard I'm trying. Look how hard I'm trying to work with somebody who was doing me like this. And look how he talked to me. Something is wrong with you. You're crazy. I want you to leave me alone. I did nothing to this person. As you can see right here, he's saying it right there. Last time I tried to fight for him, this is April 4th. I can tell you wanted to get something off your chest, not trying to hear it. He didn't care. I said, I would never hurt you, bro. He said, doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything. I said, change what? He said, LOL, you didn't hurt me, because I never did hurt him. What did I do? I always felt like it was like I was always in trouble with you. You're pissing me off because you keep acting crazy. I wasn't acting crazy. I was trying to fight for somebody who I love and care for. I was trying to keep somebody from having a fentanyl overdose. I was trying to educate somebody about HIV and AIDS. I was trying to be there for him through and through. And after he used me and did everything he could to demean me and destroy me, then he just didn't want me no more. This is what happens when you stay. Okay, this is something that my fans might not know, my Jaybirds, you guys might not know this, but I always keep a little, a token from each album to help honor the hard work that I did on that album. And so from my first ever album, Warrior, that I released in 2020, this is my sword that I used to have in my music videos. I still have it. So this is from Warrior. And then from Shooting Star, I have the actual choker that I wore on my album cover. Shooting Star was released in 2021. I was just 25 years old when I released that album, and so this is the choker that I have from it that I wore around my neck on my album cover. And from Apocalypse, this is my dark shroud that I wore over my head in my video. You'll see it's one of my dark shrouds that I wore. But from my fourth album, which is titled The Boy in St. Regis, the token that I have for that album that I will always keep is a letter that I actually wrote. And it says, The Boy in St. Regis. This is something I wrote and I wanted to read this. It says, I don't look at St. Regis as just a place where I once was raped and taken advantage of. I look at it as a place where I cooked meals, a place where I made content for my fans, watched my Chiefs win the Super Bowl. And it's a place where I staged an intervention for someone I cared about a lot. St. Regis is a beacon of my love. And so these are my tokens. I got hopefully a lot more albums that I want to work on and release, but these are my 4 tokens I wanted to share with my Jaybirds. So just want to say thank y'all for all the love and support that I've gotten from y'all for all the years. I hope you guys like this new album. That's why I wrote these songs for this documentary. Every song that you hear is from my album, The Boy in St. Regis, my 4th studio album. I now own all the rights to my music. I am my own label. I represent myself. I am my own producer. I produce all of my music. That is my rule. I write all of my songs and I produce all of my music and I make all of my instrumentals. Nobody can tell my story but me. And so I already have my next 3 albums already planned out. I got a long journey ahead of me, but I'm ready for that journey. I would say as of now, I am looking for a nice guy, somebody to do me right, respect me. Now I'm looking for a man who can just appreciate me and see all of me. You know, Elijah, he loved my paintings. That's one thing about him. He was always fascinated with my paintings. And I have been painting since I was about, I want to say 21. I've been drawing ever since I was probably 7 years old because my dad could draw really, really good. And so me and my sister Lindsay, we can draw, and it went from drawing to painting. But I'm more than just a painter. I'm an author. And by the time I was 23, I had already published 4 novels that I wrote and self-published on my own through a distributor who allowed me to self-publish my own books. I've spent my life using my art to not only bring my fans some joy, but to help me through my pain. That was always one of my biggest dreams, was to use my music and my art to guide myself and to guide my supporters. There would not be a Boy in St. Regis without Beyonce. Beyonce is what inspired me to do this documentary. You know, when I was just about 20 years old, she released Lemonade. And I sat on the Nelson steps when it first came out because I just got off of work at the plaza. And I sat at the Nelson steps and I watched Lemonade because I couldn't wait to get home to watch it. And I was going through a really tough time when she released Lemonade. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, this woman helped me heal. Beyonce is my greatest inspiration. And ever since I watched Lemonade, I wanted to do a project just like that. I wanted to tell my story. You know, and she helped me by doing Lemonade. She helped me and she taught me how to take my pain and my abuse that I have suffered and to turn it into magic and to use it to help the world and to help myself. Because of the intervention that I had for Elijah when I wrote the note to him about getting off of drugs, it inspired me to fuel my project, Project This House, which is dedicated to helping those with drug abuse and with depression. Project This House is a foundation started by me where we pass out free food and water. And I write a handwritten note, a sticky note, on each item that tells about the harms of drug abuse. When you buy cigarettes, they come with a label that tells you how it can harm your body. But when you go to get cocaine or meth, it doesn't come with a label about how it can harm your body.
And so when I pass out water or when we pass out food, each item comes with a handwritten sticky note that I write myself that tells about a way to help with drug treatment or the harmful effects of a certain drug. But we also include STDs awareness on some of the items. And when you receive your water or your food, you'll have that note and you'll know that somebody cares about you. The note that I wrote for Elijah, I'm not sure if it did any good in his life, but I hope that the notes that I write for others can help do some good in their lives. And somebody cares about you. Please walk away before it gets worse. And know that Jay Hunter loves you. And that's why I'm doing this. It's all right now.
I just wanted to be your man like it used to be, baby. But you don't know how to act. What? As a matter of fact, I know you really I know you cheated on me. I just need to get myself together so I can be free. I'ma get rid of you and focus on me. It's okay, baby. I know you cheated on me, yeah. I know you cheated on me. Tell me, was it really fun when you were out last night? And when you were out with him, did he make you feel alright? You turned off your location and you left me in the dark. You didn't even care if you knew it would break my heart. It's okay, baby. I know you cheated on me. I just need to get myself together so I can be free. I'ma let go of you and focus on me. It's okay, baby. I know you cheated on me, yeah. I know you cheated on me. Seven seas, you still wouldn't find a man like me. Cause I got the heart of a king and a warrior inside me. And I got this bomb-ass dick, you ain't even gotta pay for it. Cause I got my own money. What you think about it? How hard was it to lie when you wouldn't come home on time? And how many of those nights did I sit in my room and cry? But that's alright, cause I got my mind made up this time. I'm gonna figure it out on my own. Out on my own. Out on my own. You know, the boy in St. Regis said that the album I made when I was really hurt, and it helped me to heal, and hopefully to help you heal. It's just about my pain. You know, although I did write these songs for him, I wrote these songs for me too, you know, and hopefully it will help you guys heal. I like to think that it will. I love y'all so much.